Kart in Sunday Thunder with Kia in gear.
Road America, 4 miles long, the fastest road course on the kart circuit. It tests the driver's skill, patience and commitment. Juan Montoya has been a star on the road courses and starts with a 25-point championship lead. But former winners Michael Andretti and Dario Franchitti and the other points contenders want just one thing: to stop Montoya. It's the halfway point of the 1999 FedEx Championship Series. Hello and welcome from Ben Edwards and Jeremy Shaw as we get ready for the kart Texaco Havoline 200 from Road America, Elkhart Lake.
Just a fantastic countryside here in Kettle Moraine region, about an hour or so north of Milwaukee. Wonderful racetrack. It's just fantastic for the drivers and the fans. Everybody loves coming here, Ben.
Great conditions too, blue sky, just a touch of cloud, and the man who starts from pole position today, Michael Andretti. It's his second pole in a row here at Road America. He's hoping for better things than last year. Michael Andretti had a superb qualifying session yesterday. He set the pace early on in the session. They made a few changes to the car, and when it looked as though pole had gone out of reach again, he came back to claim his second pole position in a row here at Road America.
9 years ago at Road America, Michael Andretti scored a clear victory here. His longtime friend and rival, Alan Jr., finished fourth and went on to win the PPG Cup Championship that year. 1 year later, however, Andretti won again at Road America. It was his 7th victory of the season, and to finish second on that occasion, but it wasn't enough to prevent Andretti from going on to win his first and so far only Champ Car title.
And the battle between the two great rivals continued in 1996 when it looked like Little Al was going to win, but his engine blew on the final lap. And Michael Andretti came through to claim victory. His third win here at Road America. Can he make it a fourth today? Nobody's ever won 4 races here. The most wins, 2. Michael Andretti on 3, and Mario, his father, also had 3 victories here. Emerson Fittipaldi also had 3 wins in his time. Let's take now a more detailed look at today's starting lineup. Michael Andretti then on pole position, and Juan Montoya couldn't quite match him in the closing stages of yesterday's qualifying. The second row sees the Portland winner Gilles de Ferran and the man yet to win, Christian Fittipaldi.
Row 3 of the grid, Adrian Fernandez and Jimmy Vasser. For both men, it's their best qualifying effort here at Road America. On row 4 of the grid, Dario Franchitti had an off on Friday, but delighted with the car now alongside Greg Moore.
Next up, Paul Tracy on the inside of the 5th row, alongside him the McDonald's car of Brazilian Tony Kanaan, then Cristiano de Mata and Brian Herter alongside him on row 6.
Row 7 of the grid, Mauricio Guggenheim, all sorts of problems on Friday, and Max Papis again disappointing for Team Rahal. Row 8, Mimo Gidley and Roberto Moreno sitting in for Mark Blundell. Mimo Gidley, though, he's been the story this weekend. He was 4th fastest on Friday, only his 3rd appearance in a Champ Car. Unfortunately on Saturday, engine problems in the morning and the afternoon.
Patrick Carpentier, Michel Jourdain on row 9, and Carpentier has been one of the stories of this weekend. He's qualified a lowly 17th. He didn't get a chance to put in a decent lap following a very frightening accident on Friday in qualifying. Look at this, and what happened at turn 1. The car almost destroyed, but thankfully Patrick was okay and stepped away from it. Alonso Jr. and Helio Castroneves, 2 Lolas on the 10th row of the grid.
Row 11, PJ Jones and Scott Pruitt in the second of the Arciero Wells Toyotas. On row 12 of the grid, Robbie Gordon and Richie Hearn. Another accident yesterday. That team built up a brand new car overnight.
And the final row sees Walter Salas in the Eagle again and Luis Garcia Jr. There are the cars on track at the moment, just going through turn number 10. That is the Carousel, one of the most challenging corners on this track. A very fast, long, sweeping right-hander. Let's analyse the race a little. It's a 55-lap event this year. That's 5 more than in the past, and it makes it probably a 3-stop race over 200 miles an hour in 3 places around this track. And onboard cameras with Richie Hearn, Robbie Gordon there, as well as the onboard camera, Cristiano de Mata. The best ever qualifying for a Toyota-powered car on a road course for that young man today. And Jimmy Vasser, 6th place on the grid, much better than we've seen in recent races. But watch out for Montoya. He starts second today, right alongside this man, Michael Andretti looking for his 4th win in Road America.
Michael Andretti, he just loves the fast openness of Road America circuit. It's a tremendous place to watch. The drivers love it, the fans love it. We're in for a fantastic race this afternoon, Ben, I think.
I hope so. I really hope so. I think everything is in place. Watch out for Frank Kiddy starting down in 7th place today. Very happy with the car after this morning's warm-up, but he's got to get past a few in the early stages, and he might be prepared to take a few risks to do that. Here we go then, heading up towards the start-finish line to receive the green flag, and it is waved, and Michael Andretti sets off ahead of Juan Montoya. Fittipaldi on the 2nd row alongside Gilles de Ferran as they head down to turn 1. Watch out down the inside, one of the Team Green cars. I couldn't see. Oh, there's an accident.
Castro Neves. There was Castro Neves down the inside there, way too fast in the corner. He took out Mimo Gidley. That was Scott Pruitt going off into the gravel as well. A bad mistake by Elio Castro Neves.
Castro Neves started a long way down, 20th position for Castro Neves today after problem. There's some other 2 cars. Gugelmin's off. That's at turn number 3, and I can't yet spot the other car that's off with Maurizio Gugelmin.
Might be Cristiano de Mata, but meanwhile Juan Montoya, he took the lead around the outside there of Michael Andretti at turn 1. A brilliant move by Juan Montoya.
So, accidents into the first corner, no great surprise I suppose. It's not one of the most difficult first corners in terms of being extremely narrow, but of course with people trying to make up ground. And Helio Castro Neves, watch out for the white car towards the back of the group. One of the Team Green cars made a lot of progress. There was Castro Neves on the grass, he was at one point, and then obviously out of control and taking out all those other cars with him. Scott Pruitt went off separately just to avoid everyone. This is the other accident. Maurizio Gugelmin, Cristiano lost it. Cristiano de Mata lost it under braking himself and then took off Maurizio Gugelmin with him. That's where Zanardi and Alonso Jr. ended up last year. This time it's Maurizio Gugelmin and Cristiano de Mata.
Oh dear, all sorts of dramas there on a first lap, and most of those fairly unnecessary. There's Cristiano de Mata trying to get a move on. That's Max Papis there. He and Mimo Gidley got together there as absolutely as innocent victims of Helio Castro Neves' accident.
Well, that's the view with cars scattered about the gravel track, and not a good start.
With Kia in gear.
Maurizio Gugelmin's car in the pit lane. Actually, he's got back in his primary car now, so it looks as though he will be able to start that car. But what a disastrous weekend Pac West have had.
Just incredible, Ben. On Friday morning, well, actually it started Thursday night, huge storm swept through here. The Pac West has this marvellous hospitality area, the Pac West Summit, that was pretty much destroyed by the storm. Also, the awning on Gugelmin's car was torn away overnight as well. And then on Friday morning, no better for Gugelmin. He was second quick in the morning, that was good, but all sorts of dramas in the afternoon. Mark Blundell, though, also for Pac West, he is not racing this weekend as originally anticipated. Let's hear from Mark.
It's not easy to go through the hoops, as they say. You know, I've been up and down thinking I was going to get back at Portland and get back for here, and last minute information medically looks like it's not wise for me to run until after Michigan at this point. It's not a case of me doing a few more races as a race car driver, it's the case of me thinking about the next 50 years of my life. And if I have an injury which you know, it goes on top of this one, it could be serious damage.
Very disappointed, Mark Blundell, speaking earlier this weekend. Roberto Moreno driving that Motorola car again. We had expected to see Mark out in the car, so at the team they prepared the car for him, and in fact it didn't run at all on Friday morning because Mark had discussions with the doctors that travel to all of the kart events, and after those discussions it was decided that he would not compete this weekend, and as he mentioned in that interview, in fact, not compete until after the Michigan race. That means first outing is likely to be in Detroit. So Roberto Moreno, super sub, is back. He's been in the points every time out so far in the time he's been replacing Blundell. He'll be hoping for more of the same today. So looking down over that pit lane scene, you can see the race control building in the top right-hand corner of your screen. That's where we're ensconced this weekend. The commentary booth just in that race control building. We get a view across to the pit lane, where there's still plenty of activity going on, of course, and as yet no news as to when we were expecting to see this race restarted. Disappointing way to get the race started here, but hopefully we will get a full complement of cars back out again.
With Kia in gear.
Down in the pit lane, the Havoline truck is busy refueling all of the cars, just topping them off, and that's vital because today is absolutely critical on fuel consumption.
Well, every FedEx Championship Series race, Ben, the cars are allocated exactly the same amount of fuel, and the amount of fuel is based on a minimum consumption of 1.85 miles to the gallon. So you have the race distance, 225 miles, divide by 1.85, that's how many gallons of fuel everybody has. They start, of course, 35 gallons in the cars, and the rest of them, of the allocation in the pit lane fuel tank.
Let's go down and hear now from Ty Mansue, the man who got run over by Michael Andretti in the pit accident
what
in Milwaukee.
happened back at Milwaukee on the mile oval about a month ago. Ty Mansue, crew member for Michael Andretti, ended up under the left rear wheel in one of the most frightening incidents we've seen on pit road. We are so pleased to see this man back grinning here at a racetrack. I know you're excited to be back at a racetrack. How are you feeling physically? How are you coming along?
I've been telling everybody I'm about 60% right now. It's pretty slow progress, but I can feel an improvement on a week-to-week basis right now.
Getting a little itchy to want to get back in uniform and join your guys on this side of the wall?
Oh, absolutely, but unfortunately they seem to be doing fine without me, so I don't know if it'd be a good idea right now.
Well, rest assured that a lot of people have had you in their thoughts and prayers, and it is genuinely great to see you back. And I couldn't help but notice Rick Rice, our cameraman, pointed out, look at here on the side of his head, shaken, not stirred. I think it really applies in this instance. Great to have you back, Ty.
Thank you.
Well, it's good news to see Ty Mansue here this weekend. Not working yet, but hopefully it won't be too long before he is.
No, an interesting, though, very diplomatic interview there. He was actually fairly outspoken because there were going to be some changes to the pit lane procedures made as a result of that accident, and also the one with Dave Stevens from Walker Racing, who also is still out of action. But they then rescinded those changes, decided not to make any changes till next year, and Ty not terribly happy with that. But anyhow, he's certainly looking forward to being back, and we look forward to seeing him back as vet man on Michael Andretti's car.
So Dario Franchitti just walking down the pit lane. There's Jimmy Vasser standing in the middle of the shot at the moment with crash helmet still on. It's fairly warm at the moment, but not too hot, so the drivers don't need to cool down too much. There's Jimmy, and a comparison here of his 1996 championship winning season versus this season. You can see how disastrous this season it's been, really. 4 wins in 96 versus none so far this year. 2 poles in 96 versus none so far. Top 5s, he's only had a couple of those. 2 non-finishes already this year, and laps led, look at that figure, just 55 laps led, and most of those were at one race this year. That was the Milwaukee race, which he came closest to winning, but in the end they brought him in for a splash and dash of fuel, and that dropped him down the order. Which,
as it turned out, was actually not necessary. So Jimmy, certainly he has had more than his share of bad luck this year. He has been competitive more often than not, but certainly just Lady Luck not really smiled his way yet. Perhaps today he will have more of an opportunity to get up to the front and stay there.
Yes, he's starting in 6th position here this weekend. His teammate, of course, Juan Montoya, leading at the table at the moment by some 25 points coming into this race. Gilles de Ferran popped up into 2nd place in the championship following that last race in Cleveland, which Dario Franchitti failed to finish as a result of a throttle problem. But as you can see, there were only 2 points between de Ferran and Franchitti. Then it's Michael Andretti still in the hunt, Greg Moore and Adrian Fernandez in 5th and 6th places. And then on down the list, and watch out for Fittipaldi. He starts 4th today, and he's scored points in every race bar 1 this year.
And PJ Jones there rounding out the top 12. At the end of the season, of course, the top 12 contenders in the FedEx Championship will be invited to that non-points race in Hawaii, the Hawaiian Super Prix that pays, if you can believe it, $5 million to the winner. So in order to get into that race, you have to be amongst the top 12 in the points table.
Refueling continues. There's that bottle that just refuels the last drops of methanol, and a crew member just shaking the car to get rid of any air bubbles effectively and get the last little bit of fuel in there.
Yes, when they just top up the level there, you see they put it into the fuel in through the vent hole on the top of the fuel tank, rather than using the normal fuel receptacle on the side of the car, just to make sure that that tank is absolutely full with 35 gallons of Valvoline's best.
Talking of Havoline, in fact, Havoline will be withdrawing from their sponsorship of the Walker team at the end of this year. But let's just take a little chance opportunity again to look back at what happened at the start. Tony Kanaan and Christian D'Amato were battling here. They started on the same row of the grid. Kanaan made a better start, headed down towards turn 1, and Christiana got through here safely. There was an accident going on behind him, but alongside Christiana came Brian Herter, and then they headed downhill to turn 3.
Yeah, downhill now into the brake area. Brian Herter just noses alongside a little bit. Christiana jumps on the brakes, dirty part of the track there on the inside, and the car just gets away from him. Here's a different angle of the same accident.
Yeah, looking towards the back of the picture, two cars together, and it just, as you say, Jeremy, on that slippery surface on the inside, gets away from him, and then he's just across in front of Gugelmin, and Gugelmin has nowhere to go at all. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, that's exactly where we saw Alex Zanardi run into the back of Alonso Jr. here last year. Alonso Jr. was out of the race. Alex did recover, and in fact survived to finish the race in second position last year, but had a lot of work to do to catch up that lost ground. Just taking a look at the track itself, as we mentioned, a 14-turn course, lots of ups and downs, and a lot of variety of corners.
Yeah, just a tremendous place. The top, the highest point on the racetrack is just past start-finish line. The lowest point is down turn 11. They call turn 11 the kink. That is the lowest point at about 150 feet below the highest point. It's not a kink, it's a corner, trust me. But they call it the kink. Through there at about 170 miles an hour, absolutely flat out for the top guys. Daunting place.
It is one of the favourite tracks amongst the drivers, as we found out when we spoke to them earlier this weekend.
I think Elkhart's one of the nicest tracks in the world. I really do. I think it's just it's a racetrack that has everything a driver wants, and it's very challenging.
It's one of those old-fashioned racetracks. You know, there's not many of those around anymore, and I really don't mean that in a derogatory way at all. I mean, it's a fantastic track, very long racetrack. I guess they don't build tracks like this because real estate is rather expensive.
There is so many different corners. There's low, high-speed corners. There is the carousel, which is the highest G-force corner that we go through the whole season. You really, like, your head is about coming out of the cockpit, and that's great.
The biggest strategy we have going in as far as the race is concerned is a fuel strategy. The other part of it is how much downforce do you run here? It's a balance between very long straightaways and fairly tight turns, so you look at trying to balance both ends of it.
Fuel strategy is always a big issue here. I mean, they've lengthened the race another 5 laps, so that kind of, throws a big question mark into it. And, fuel strategy is always a problem here because it's such a long lap and you can't afford to run out on the track because you're done then.
It's just a great track, a lot of fast corners, a couple of tricky little places, and it's a wonderful setting to have a real good racetrack like this.
And one of Dario's favourite tracks, that's for sure, because he won here last year. It was his first ever victory, of course, and he didn't start right up front, but he worked his way through during the race and shadowed Michael Andretti then, who was the earlier leader of the race. Managed to go 1 lap longer on fuel and then come out ahead of Michael to come through and take his first ever Champ Car victory.
Thunder with Kia in gear.
The pit lane, ready for the restart. All the cars making their way out of pit lane, down behind the pace cars as we do get ready for this race to get underway again. And Michael Andretti, of course, leading them around. Juan Montoya in second place. And we are hearing, although they talked about it being a single file restart, they are now saying it will be as normal, side by side, 2x2 start. And that's what we're looking forward to if we get this race underway in just a few moments' time. I think everybody's made it out, just looking down the pit lane. Luis Garcia makes his way out. Can't see anybody for the moment that's still stuck there in the pit lane. And everybody taking their place in their grid format, in the original grid lineup. Now, we talked a moment or two earlier about the fact that Havoline are looking to be pulling out of their sponsorship of the Walker Racing team and Gilles de Ferran. And they spoke about that a little bit earlier this weekend. Havoline have been a long-time sponsor of Gilles de Ferran and Derek Walker. Most notably, the relationship between Havoline and Walker Racing has been a crucial relationship which brought them a victory.
Not a surprise for us at all. I mean, Havoline, let us know about their plans really about a year ago, when they started purchasing different brands and everything. So we kind of knew that was coming. And, Derek has been investing in his team heavily, even though he knew that was coming. And so I really think that the future, both for me and for the team, looks very bright.
We understand Valvoline's reasons for moving on. We just got to find a replacement. That's simple as that. So we're working flat out, trying to get to other companies who are out there who are interested in racing.
Well, Derek Walker, I'm sure, should be able to find some other companies willing to take them on. I mean, one of the most successful teams out there, and with a recent win to their credit as well, the victory at Portland. Gilles de Ferran always one of the front runners to worry about.
Absolutely, he has been very, very consistent this year. He has done a lot of the testing for Goodyear to try and get them back up to the front in that ongoing battle with Firestone. If you look there is Gilles de Ferran going out of the picture, right up in second place in the points now, very much a contender for the PPG Cup Championship, and a very fine driver, and he doesn't often make mistakes. He's a consistent, he's fast, he's good. There in the screen there is a second Walker Racing car, driven now for the third race by Mimo Gidley, a youngster who has already made a good impression, and he'll be thankful for that restart. He's actually running a 98 Reynard, but he does have the latest Honda engine, and he is getting ready for the restart. There, though, is the starting grid.
Andretti and Montoya will start on the front row. Gilles de Ferran and Fittipaldi on the second. Fernandez and Vassar will start on the third. Then Franchitti and Moore, Tracy and Canaan, De Mata and Herta, Gugelmin, Papis, Gidley and Moreno, Carpentier, Jourdain, Alonso Jr. right back with Castroneves on row 10. Then it's Jones and Pruitt, Gordon and Hearn, and Salis and Garcia Jr. on the final row of the grid together. So some ups and downs from qualifying, particularly I suppose Helio Castroneves, Jeremy, qualified down in 20th place, and as we saw was perhaps a little optimistic in trying to make up all those places on that first start.
Very much so. He did admit there to being a little optimistic, as he said at the start, and you know, he just got on the grass. I mean, on the grass at 200 miles an hour, it doesn't tend to work out really in your favour, or really in the favour of anybody else. So big accident there, and thankfully nobody is hurt, and everybody is able to get to the restart. I think we have 3 drivers in spare cars. They would be Papis, Gidley and Castroneves. Everybody else, I believe, is still in their primary car.
So there's Franchitti just going through shots with Greg Moore right behind him. Everybody just trying to build up a little bit of heat into the tyres now.
And there was a change in the rules 4 or 5 years ago now, where if you did have to switch to a backup car after qualifying for whatever reason, you could retain your original qualifying position. So they will do not have to go to the back of the field like they would in Formula One and many other forms of racing. They are able to take up the position that they did earn in qualifying yesterday.
Very good point, that, and a critical point if you take into account 1 or 2 of those guys who are out in their spare cars, although from Helio Castroneves' point of view it doesn't make a huge difference. Remember Gidley qualifying 15th, he's out in his spare car, so that makes quite a big difference. From mid-grid he would have gone right to the back of the field. On board there with Juan Montoya, he stayed clear of all that. In fact, he managed to get into the lead past Michael Andretti at the first start. Michael seems fairly determined not to let him do it this time around.
Yeah, Michael talked about him flying past him on the straight. I don't know about that. Michael seemed to get a pretty good jump away from the start here, and I think he was just a little bit more conservative than Montoya in the braking area for turn 1, and Montoya took full advantage, brilliantly driving around the outside of him into turn 1. It really was a fantastic move by the young Colombian driver. And here's another man who's impressed this weekend. In the foreground there was Tony Kanaan. That was behind him was Cristiano De Mata, 2 very, very good friends, and alongside each other on the grid.
So we should be seeing the green flag next time around. Christian Fittipaldi, remember, is well up on the grid this time as well, starting in 4th position today. A lovely view of the bottom end of the track. This is down towards the carousel, turns numbers 8, 9 and 10. 10 is the long sweeping right-hander that they're coming around here.
Yeah, coming down the hill there, it's called Hurry Downs, that section, which I think is absolutely magnificent. And here the carousel turn here, and out of the carousel on that straight towards the King. The carousel is a downhill sweeping corner. The cars there pull 4 Gs through that corner. That's effectively 600 pounds or more of body weight, which you have to hold into the car as you're going around that corner. Immensely tough on the drivers.
Yes, as Maurizio Gugelmin said, really got to hold on to your head going through that one. A lot of strain on the neck as they corner for such a long time, and then they have a little short straight and then a big commitment corner, the kink, where they try and do it virtually flat out. Not in the race conditions perhaps, but definitely in qualifying they were flat out through the kink, as we saw with some of the onboard shots in that qualifying session yesterday. And in fact, we saw Juan Montoya lose out a fraction. He lifted in the middle of the carousel. That was really the difference between him getting pole position and Michael Andretti finally taking that place. And here we are now getting ready then for the green flag, for the restart of this race, a whole new start. 55 laps to go, and they will head up this hill, take the green flag at the top of the hill where the start-finish line is, and we will be underway once again. The green flag flies, and Montoya slots in behind. Watch out for Christian Fittipaldi, made a very good start there from the second row. Montoya trying to do the same thing again, and he does it. Goes round the outside now. Let's hope that it's all clean behind them this time as they head down towards turn number 3 as it's called. The kink is turn 2. Turn number 3, Montoya very, very quick through there and ahead of Michael Andretti already.
That's amazing. I'm just astonished that Montoya is able to do that 2 times running to somebody with the experience of Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti, he knows all about these cars. He knows how to get the tyres up to temperature right away. And there's Dario Franchitti down the outside, inside of Jimmy Vasser into turn 5.
Yes, good move that from Franchitti. Thought about getting past Fernandez as well. Tries to cover the place now and does it. Franchitti trying to make up for that slowest. Actually, I'm not sure it was Franchitti. It might have been Tracy. Just looking at that, it could well have been Paul Tracy. The Franchittis.
That's even more amazing because Tracy started behind. He started in 9th position at the start, and there is Tony Kanaan trying to make a move on Greg Moore, and Moore trying to get past Herder. So all sorts of action there down the field towards the bottom end of the top 10. But look, just back to Juan Montoya there. Moritz Nunn, his race engineer, has talked all along about how sensational Montoya is on cold tyres. Another example of it right there, Ben.
Yes, absolutely. Although Michael seemed to give it up so easily, half makes you wonder whether he really wanted to fight for it at that stage, because he didn't even seem to cover it particularly. Took the inside but didn't really fight it. And now look at this, Christian Fittipaldi and Gilles de Ferran virtually side by side through turn 12, and they're side by side up through turn 13. There really isn't room for that. Let me tell you, this track is not as wide as it might appear on television. There is not much space. You get 2 of these things side by side and there's no more tarmac left, and very nearly wasn't 2 Brazilians in the race there as they just squeezed through turn 13. Juan Montoya leads by 2 seconds from Michael Andretti. Christian Fittipaldi in 3rd place, chased by Gilles de Ferran. Then it's Fernandez, then it's Paul Tracy indeed, then it's Vasser, then it's Franchitti, and Franchitti there just making his way past Jimmy Vasser, so he has gained that position. Vasser taking things fairly steady, but remember, some of these guys will indeed be busy saving fuel and driving as economically as possible, even in the early stages of this race, until it begins to settle down a bit. Jimmy Vasser finds himself back down now in 8th position.
Nothing conservative about Juan Montoya. 2.1 seconds the lead on the first lap, and amazingly Andretti had a couple of seconds over Fittipaldi as well. Admittedly, of course, Fittipaldi had to battle his way past Gilles de Ferran there, but tremendous start by Juan Montoya. And I just wonder whether that team has perhaps opted for a slightly different strategy with this having to make 3 pit stops. Instead of stretching the fuel to the first stop, maybe he's trying to pull out a lead and maybe make a stop early, or I don't know, there's all sorts of different strategies that you can pull with the pit window being so extended as it is now.
That's right. Now you've got the 2 Team Green cars together again, Paul Tracy and Dario Franchitti. They've had their comings together. Still a good relationship between them in the team, in spite of 1 or 2 little problems on circuit in past events. And Franchitti, so pleased with his car after this morning's warm-up, absolutely delighted. Saw him just after the warm-up, and he was very pumped up about the performance of the car, but he's got to now try and find a way past. Now look at this battle, Herter and Greg Moore side by side into 12. That's Canada corner, great viewing spot there as the spectators see them all heading down towards them at over 200 miles an hour, and then on to the brakes hard. Tony Kanaan in that little battle as well in the McDonald's car, and that is all the battle that they're all fighting over 9th, 10th and 11th positions there. And again, Tony Kanaan has to take the inside as his friend Cristiano De Mata overtakes. Cristiano De Mata gets a good run. Meanwhile, Franchitti gets a run on Tracy, and it's a clean passing manoeuvre as Franchitti moves up another position, so that sees him now into 6th position.
Good move there by Franchitti, and he made up a couple of places on lap. He got past Jimmy Vasser earlier in the lap. We did not see that, but we did see the move there past Paul Tracy. And as you say, Franchitti on the move up into 6th, and looking next to his sights will be Adrian Fernandez.
Fernandez running competitively in the new Reynard, the 99 Reynard that he's been running in the last couple of races now. He started the season, remember, with the older Reynard. Well, in fact, he started with a Swift, then he switched to the older Reynard. Now he's in the 1999 car. Been running competitively here this weekend, but now can he match Dario Franchitti? They will be battling over 5th position, as last time around Juan Montoya had opened up the lead a little more. It was 3.4 seconds last time around after just 2 laps had been completed. Through the carousel they come once again, turn at number 10, building up the speed, changing into 5th gear on the exit, then just easing off the throttle fractionally here through the kink at about 160 miles an hour, up into 6th gear and building up to over 200 miles an hour once again at this section of track, then hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear and through the Canada corner. And Franchitti, there he is, needs to get some points here today, lies in 3rd place in the championship and cannot afford to let Montoya get away much further in the points table. So Montoya leads. He's about to complete 3 laps here today. Michael Andretti in second place, and Fittipaldi is in third. Heading down towards turn 1 then, and Fernandez and Franchitti. Franchitti's closed up that gap a little bit during this last lap, but now he's got to try and find an opportunity to go past. Now, they tend to run a fairly low downforce setup for this track. Fernandez tried that on Friday and really wasn't going anywhere. Put a bit more downforce on for Saturday and suddenly was very competitive. Now I wonder if that means he's running a relatively high downforce setup. That will mean, of course, a little slower in a straight line. The more downforce you run on the car, the faster you are through the corners, but the slower you are on the straights. Mimo Gidley is off at the side of the track.
Shame for Gidley, he was absolutely a star on Friday. 4th quickest there is Scott Pruitt making a move on the inside of PJ Jones, and maybe Jones can get alongside on the exit. Good move by PJ Jones to retake that position, that the dice for 20th place now with Gidley pulling off the racetrack.
Well, it's good to see that we've got racing going on throughout the field here. On board here with Robbie Gordon. Gordon lies down in 23rd place, so he's a few behind the battle we were just watching. Down into turn number 8, where the gravel track has caught quite a few cars on the exit of that one this year. Let's just go quiet a moment, listen to the engine, particularly as he approaches the kink on the exit of this corner. Quite a big lift in race conditions for the kink, and of course he's got almost a full tank of fuel on board that car, and you don't take it flat out when you're running with that much fuel on board. So Robbie Gordon continues on his way in 23rd place, as Montoya has completed now his 4th lap. So our coverage here on Eurosport continues. Don't forget, you can always watch the highlights in the Start Your Engines program on Wednesday of all our American motorsport here on Eurosport. Juan Montoya continues to lead here, his advantage 4.7 seconds as he comes down towards turn number 5. The onboard pictures, let's just watch him feeding the power on as he comes out of the corner. Touch of opposite lock, just a hint, up under the bridge, down to second gear here. Or a bit more opposite lock, but still beautifully controlled as he heads down now through the right-hander and through the section known as Hurry Down, up into 5th gear, 160 miles an hour, then back on the brakes, and a slow left-hander once again.
Feeds on the power there, short shifts there going into the carousel. Won't be pulling 4Gs at this stage in the race, but probably still somewhere approaching 3Gs through that corner. Feed the power in there onto the back straight. Here's the kink.
Wow,
that's the difference, Ben, between running in 22nd place of Robbie Gordon and the leader, Juan Montoya.
He was flat out through the kink, and yet he's in race conditions on a full tank of fuel, and it didn't sound like he lifted at all. Now that is commitment for you, and that's the reason that he is pulling away. It's a critical corner, the corner we call the kink. Some drivers are lifting, easing off for it, but not Juan Montoya. He's just flat out and pulling away from Michael Andretti at the moment. Let's check what the time difference is. He flashes past the start-finish line there. There is second place man Michael Andretti, and you can see now he goes across the line. The gap 5.4 seconds. So a massive gap up front. Meanwhile behind them, Christian Fittipaldi is just about half a second behind Andretti in third place. Gilles de Ferran then about a second behind him in 4th. Fernandez another second back, and then Franchitti is still close behind Adrian Fernandez. Paul Tracy 7th, Jimmy Vasser 8th, Greg Moore in 9th, Brian Herter 10th, Max Papis is 11th, Tony Kanaan 12th, ahead of Gutermin, D'Amata, Moreno and Carpentier. Let's just listen out for Michael for the moment, heading up the hill into turn number 6 here. Now we switch our attention to the player's car of Greg Moore. Mercedes power for Greg Moore, and in fact just looking down the order at the moment, Greg is the first of the Mercedes powered cars in this race, currently lying in 9th position.
He's the best qualifier as well. He and Elio Castro Neves have the advantage of a slightly higher spec Mercedes engine, the brand new experimental stuff for qualifying. Race trim, however, I think everybody has the same spec from Ilmore Mercedes, but certainly there have been a few problems, and Castro Neves had a blow up yesterday afternoon. well, the team was only allowed to say no comment, but there was a hole, let's put it this way, there was a hole in the under tray which was sitting underneath the engine, and I think it wasn't anything from external that went through the under tray, afraid to say.
There's Mimo Gidley out of his car. Disappointing end to a weekend that started so well with that 4th fastest time in Friday qualifying. A rookie to the championship, but obviously a star for the future.
Yeah, he wasn't a fluke either. He was fast in all of the sessions. Unfortunately, Saturday morning, a massive engine failure, and they put a new engine in for the qualifying session yesterday afternoon, but unfortunately, it refused to run cleanly. He came in 4 or 5 times to change the ECUs, change the mapping, change everything, but they couldn't get the car to run properly, and he fell back down the order on the grid to 15th place, but nevertheless, even that is pretty respectable. But he was fast this morning, and he was really looking forward to the race. Big disappointment for Mimo Gidley.
Fastest lap on that last lap was again to Juan Montoya, a 1 minute 43.391, and that's a full 0.8 of a second faster than Michael Andretti's doing behind him. Also going quickly on that last lap, Fernandez and Franchitti, they were both in the 43s, 43.8s in fact for the two of them, so their battle remains very constant. Everybody will also be thinking about fuel and managing the fuel consumption a little bit whilst trying to go flat out at the same time. And that will be a critical issue later in the race, but for Juan Montoya, he is just storming ahead. Now, let's listen up for Michael through this section. Just a little feather off the throttle that time. We couldn't hear that on board Montoya's car. It sounded like Montoya was completely flat out. Just a little ease for Michael Andretti.
That hurts your momentum down that straight. It's another half a mile or so until Canada corner, and by just breathing off the throttle just ever so slightly, you lose that momentum all the way down the end of the straight. Probably cost you at least a couple of tenths of a second.
Scott Pruitt is off at the side of the road, and it looks very much like a Toyota engine failure there, with the smoke coming out of the engine cover, and sadly Scott Pruitt's day has come to an early conclusion. As Juan Montoya leads his advantage 5.9 seconds, although the last lap he wasn't that much quicker than anyone else. In fact, Andretti was almost as quick. This was the replay of that start. Now they battled it out a little bit into turn 1. Montoya was brave. He was almost on the grass there as he got on the brakes, but very clean and very fair racing between the two of them, which saw Montoya take the lead at the start. Let me tell you, just looking across from our vantage point, Alonso Jr. has come into the pit lane after just 7 laps. Alonso Jr. in the pits. Now it looks as though it may just be a routine stop.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Roger Penske, he really is a master strategist. If there was a caution to come up fairly soon now, everybody else would have to pit out of sequence. Well, not out of sequence, but everybody else would pit together. But they would slow down perhaps as they come in for the on that caution lap as they came into the pits, and Alonso Jr. would be at speed. He will be able to go past and hopefully gain a lot of track position. He knows now that he is committed to a 3-stop strategy. Everybody is going to have to make 3 stops in any case, but he can get to the finish of this race with 2 more fuel stops. And that is a pretty interesting idea. From where he was, Alonso Jr. was running in 19th place. Absolutely nothing to lose, really. You might as well take the gamble. If it works in your favour, great. If it doesn't, well, you really haven't lost anything.
So Junior has made his stop. Everyone else continues around at the moment. We wouldn't expect them to be making their stops for about another 10 laps or so, unless there was a full course yellow perhaps. Then we might see them come in a little earlier. Up front it's Juan Montoya, still leading. In fact, 8 laps completed. He's just gone across the line, and a 1 minute 42.915. Everybody's beginning to go a little quicker now. A 1:43.0 from Michael Andretti, but the gap between the leaders 6.1 seconds. Fittipaldi still third, De Ferran in fourth, Fernandez fifth, followed by Franchitti, then Tracy, Vassar, Greg Moore in ninth, Brian Herter 10th, Papis in 11th, and Tony Kanaan in 12th position. Down the order, Helio Castroneves still survives. He's out in the spare car, remember, after that accident in the original start. Castroneves now lies in 17th position, so he hasn't made up a lot of ground from his starting position, and he started way down in 20th place. So he's made a few places, but not any rapid progress yet. Just looking at Adrian Fernandez, still being chased by Dario Franchitti, and those 3 cars, De Ferran, Fernandez, and Franchitti, who just put a wheel on the dirt there, so he's got to be a little cautious. They're battling over 4th position. Down underneath the snap-on bridge, and Gilles de Ferran looking very controlled at the moment in that 4th place. Honda engine power, of course. We've got a Honda leading at the moment. Ford, Cosworth Power is in 2nd and 3rd. And then it's a Honda, a Ford, a Honda, a Honda, a Honda, and then the first Mercedes.
Yes, Greg Moore there in 9th place, followed by 2 more Fords. The 2 Team Rahal cars of Brian Herter and Max Papis, who moved up well in the earlier laps, and now he's taking up station behind his teammate Brian Herter. Those guys running in 10th and 11th.
There's a real flow and rhythm to this circuit. A fast track, as we mentioned, over 200 miles an hour at this point, about 204 miles an hour as they head down to turn 1. That's, you can see that circled area. This is turn number 1, and they head through there at about 120 miles an hour. Now down to what's called turn 3. Slight kink before that, but it doesn't really count. This is taken in 3rd gear, 90 miles an hour. Back on the power hard, and another. This is the second area of the track where they're doing over 200 miles an hour and down between the trees, a little bit like the Monza Grand Prix circuit at this point. Downhill braking then for the left-hander at turn 5, 60 miles an hour, slowest corner on the track, a little bit of oversteer coming out of that, and then up to turn 6. Again, 2nd gear, and not a lot of grip through this one, so they have to be cautious on the power. Then they accelerate hard, almost flat out through the hurry down section, a quick right-hander, and then hard on the brakes downhill again into the left-hander, which begins the process of setting up for the long sweeper at the carousel.
Just listening to him there, just feeding in the pits there is the second man into the pits. That is Patrick Carpentier, and he rejoins there, having taken on fuel and a fresh set of Firestone tyres.
Now let's look at what happened when he came in. Something a little strange here. Carpentier going very slowly as he came through the last corner and wasn't sure whether to come in or not. And that was Michel Jourdain, who got completely caught out there by the slow-moving Carpentier. Went to the inside, but Carpentier wanted to go to the pits, and therefore Jourdain ended up using the pit lane and then coming back onto the track.
Scary movement for Jourdain, and I wondered how PJ Jones managed to get past him. That explains it. For Jourdain, they just chose the wrong side to go there. Carpentier just sort of snaking around in the middle of the road, really no man's land there, and almost takes out Jourdain. So these two was paying attention, and they managed to avoid an accident there, but it certainly cost Jourdain a lot of time.
Look at the lead that's been established by Juan Montoya. Michael Andretti there, 7.1 seconds behind race leader. As we look back again down the order, and Greg Moore, well, that's Patrick Carpentier, sorry, back out again after having made that pit stop. Whatever the problem was, he has rejoined. It's been a tough weekend for him. Suffered that accident on Friday when the car rolled some 6 times through the gravel trap at turn number 1. Thankfully unhurt and able to rejoin. So there he is, back out again and trying to get up to speed, but at the back of the pack now with a couple of cars out of this race. We've lost Mimo Gidley, we've lost Scott Pruitt, and then now at the back of the field we have Alonso Jr. and Patrick Carpentier, the two that have been into the pits for fuel. Back with our battle for 4th position, Gilles de Ferran, just ahead of Adrian Fernandez, and Dario Franchitti still hanging in there, thinking about the full race distance. We're just 10 laps completed, 45 laps still to go. Long way to go in this race. Concentration absolutely critical on a circuit that sees such high-speed corners and then some very tricky, demanding, tight corners in 2nd gear where it's just all too easy to overstep the mark. Through the Canada corner here, this is the last section of track. Big gravel trap ready to catch out the unwary before they head up under the bridge to the final turn at turn 14.
Yeah, uphill all the way there, just part of the track pretty flat there in turn 14, and then steeply uphill right before the start-finish line, and underneath the gantry here at Road America to complete one more lap. That is 11 laps in the books.
44 laps to go then, 7.3 seconds the advantage once again. Fittipaldi under pressure from Gilles de Ferran, and it's been a good season in the latter part for Gilles de Ferran. Didn't start off too well. We're looking at a comparison of Gilles de Ferran's first 6 races this year compared to the last 3, and in the first 6 he had no wins, in the last 3 he had that 1 win at Portland, and he's also had 3 podium finishes, more impressively. So that's why we now see Gilles de Ferran up into 2nd place in the championship, and really becoming a factor in this series, very much more so than last year. In the pits, Cristiano De Mata in the Toyota-powered Reynard. Excellent qualifying performance from him this weekend, 11th place, best Toyota on a road course, and in fact he's got the best ever qualifying position for a Toyota-powered car. That was in Miami at the start of the year. A clean stop there for Cristiano De Mata, and he rejoins the field.
And D'Amato, one of the people here to select a slightly different strategy, certainly than some of the other front runners, and I think that's a pretty shrewd move there. He's equalizing the distances between having to make a pit stop. They can go as much as 16, 17 laps before they need to make a pit stop, but then it only leaves them a 5-lap run to the finish. By coming in now, after 11 laps, Cristiano D'Amato now has another 44 laps to go, and he can come in at slightly different, he can now do some 12 or 13 laps each stint, or a bit more than that, and then make it to the finish line fairly comfortably. So he equalises the stint, doesn't have to take on quite so much fuel at each stop, and also the tyres don't have to run quite so far either. Good strategy, I think, by Archero Wells Racing.
On board with Michael Andretti, second place, the gap 7.7 seconds. Let's just watch him through turn 1. Very clean, just using the curve slightly, heads down towards turn 3 here. A little bit bumpy through that section. We were watching the cars at that area on Friday. Some of the cars reacting a little bit more over the bumps there, which perhaps have been created by the harsh winters that this part of northern Wisconsin suffers. But in fact, the track is in excellent shape. There's been a fair bit of rain this summer, and it's a very green, verdant scene that we have here. Beautiful track, and a beautiful race as well for the drivers to enjoy. So challenging, this racetrack, and demanding, and many drivers likening it to the Spa circuit amongst the Grand Prix tracks in terms of the challenge and the demands it puts on them. Gilles de Ferran still keeping right behind Christian Fittipaldi at the moment, but it's Montoya all the way so far with 12 laps completed, just over 12 laps now for our race leader Juan Montoya, and we'll expect to see them coming into the pits for their routine stops in the next 3 to 4 laps perhaps, their initial laps. Now, it will be important to see who comes in first and who's able to stretch that fuel window a little further. Is Juan Montoya using more fuel than the others? Is that the reason that he's managed to open up such an advantage? Or has he got the pace as well as the economy? He's down into the 1 minute 42s now, 1 minute 42.3 last time around for Montoya. Still a little way off pole time, 1 minute 40.206. And in fact, that last lap, he's just got into the 41s for the first time. So Montoya going faster and faster every lap, and his lead now up to 8.3 seconds over Michael Andretti.
Absolutely astonishing there. And here we are on board with Jimmy Vasser. He is running in 8th position, but as you say, 8.3 seconds from first to second. And then we've got Andretti, Fittipaldi, De Ferran, Fernandez and Franchitti all running pretty much nose to tail. And what, about a 6-second gap back to Paul Tracy, and a bit more than that now to Jimmy Vasser in 8th place and on down from there. But certainly everybody is being shown the way by Juan Montoya, absolutely flying and leaving everybody for dead.
He is so far, isn't he? What can they do about this man, Juan Montoya, the 23-year-old who's stormed onto the Champ Car scene this year, replacing Alex Zanardi in the number 4 Chip Ganassi Target Team car. And of course it's a great car, as everybody admits, but the performance that Montoya's been putting in. This is Richie Hearn in the pit lane. Richie Hearn in the pits, and it looks like more than routine service. The jack is going underneath the front of the car. They are refueling, of course, as they would anyway. Perhaps a little bit of...
Yeah, there could be a jack failure there. As I say, that was a brand new car built up overnight by Les Shannon's crew there. Phil Howard, the team manager. I'll tell you what, this team has worked so hard this year. Richie Hearn, he crashed at Cleveland. He went testing a few days later at Mid-Ohio, and he crashed the other car there. And he sat down with the crew. In actual fact, on Thursday, when he arrived here at Road America on Thursday, he said, look, I've been over driving the car. I really apologize. I've just got to settle myself down. I promise you, I won't do it again. Well, unfortunately, he did do it again yesterday afternoon. You know, there's a lot of talent here in Richie Hearn, but he is trying so hard. And now the first of the leaders into the pit lane, Ben.
Gilles de Ferran into the pits for his first stop. Now that means he's only managed 14 laps. Does that mean he's using more fuel than the others? Into the pits comes Paul Tracy as well, let me tell you. So coming in from 7th position. Got to watch that speed limit, 50 miles an hour only nowadays, remember. Jimmy Vasser, that's interesting. Jimmy Vasser in on lap 14. I'm surprised at that. I thought he might be really stretching the fuel a bit.
Get ready,
but of course, it still may apply because it depends on the length of the stop. Let's see if we can see how long the fuel stop is. 12.5 seconds. Pretty good stop. Paul Tracy back out in much the same sort of time, and he comes out behind Gilles de Ferran. So these cars all coming in on the 14th lap. Will we see Montoya coming in next time around, or will he be able to stretch it that little bit further. Michel Jourdain into the pits. Best qualifying of his season here this weekend. Qualified in 18th position. Another Lola user, and beginning to get to grips, that team, with getting the Lola to work perhaps. Michel Jourdain running more competitively now. Oh, and off on the grass, Luis Garcia Jr. So it looks as though we're losing one or two off onto the sidelines here. Now, something happened to Dario Franchitti. Let's take a look. There goes Fernandez through the shot, and Franchitti lost it. Franchitti lost it up through turn number 6, that is, just under the bridge, and he got back on the grass and he's rejoined, and I don't think he lost a place as a result of it. But Montoya's into the pits. Race leader, Juan Montoya. Now, will Michael Andretti be coming in this lap? Or has Michael managed to save enough fuel? No, he hasn't. Michael Andretti into the pits on this same lap. And who has gone past? That is Christian Fittipaldi, I think, has stayed out there. So Christian has managed to save fuel. Listen to the radio.
Control limiter.
Dario Franchitti's in as well. Wait for the go. And away goes Juan Montoya. Clean stop from Juan Montoya. Michael Andretti. Can the Newman Haas crew, who've had 6 wins here at this Road America track, the most successful crew at this Road America circuit. Good clean stop for him as well. He rejoins. Adrian Fernandez, good stop from him, coming out behind Michael. But it is Christian Fittipaldi who leads this race now as a result of staying out on track. Fittipaldi, the only one amongst the leaders, I think, who stayed out. Greg Moore has stayed out as well, so that's interesting. Franchitti comes out after that spin. Well, at least dirty tyres won't affect him very much. He's come out just ahead of his teammate Paul Tracy again. Tracy on warm tyres, and that could be to his advantage. Remember, Tracy coming in a lap before, and therefore he's got his tyres up to temperature. There is our race leader, Christian Fittipaldi.
Assuming other things were equal in the pit stops, that means that off up at turn 6 cost Dario around about 6 seconds. That was the margin he had over Paul Tracy before that, well, the lap before they made the pit stop. So certainly a crucial lapse there by Dario Franchitti. He cannot afford to give away 6 seconds to anybody in this series.
Here comes Christian Fittipaldi. Is he coming into the pits this time? Surely I would think he is. No, yes, he thinks about it.
Watch your speed. There's an open pit. You have an open pit behind you. 4 tires filled with fuel. Hit the marks, no changes.
Very calm on the radio there.
Yeah, and 3 drivers actually extending their fuel beyond everybody else. That was Christian Fittipaldi here making his stop there at Newman Haas. Also Greg Moore, she said. Also Roberto Moreno, I presume, will be in on this lap.
Moore is in, as you say, Jeremy. We'll wait to see whether Roberto Moreno...
Watch Kevin. Hold it. Go.
12.6 seconds, so a pretty good stop again for Christian Fittipaldi, who rejoins and has managed to stretch out a lap's advantage to everybody else. Now, and off! Who is that? Vasser. It's Jimmy Vasser in the target car. It's not the race leader, but it is Jimmy Vasser, and his dreadful season continues. Vasser is off into the gravel, and disaster again for the 1996 champion. Now, we don't know exactly what happened there, whether he got tangled up with someone else or whether he was purely on his own, but Jimmy Vasser is out of the race.
Yeah, I think we've got a replay of this. We hope interesting there. As we came past here, though, Paul Tracy was ahead of Dario Franchitti. So
battle with Brian Herter. Brian Herter was on the outside. Jimmy was on the inside on the slippery stuff. He locked up offline on the slippery surface on the inside in that side-by-side battle with Brian Herter. That was it. All over for Jimmy Vasser. They should be able to get that car out of the gravel trap. They've got additional cranes around the circuit to be able to pick cars out of the gravel trap. But it's the end of the day for Jimmy Vasser, and another disappointing end to the day. Now look, Fittipaldi is ahead of Michael Andretti. So Fittipaldi, who stopped after Michael, has managed to rejoin in front of his teammate. And now Andretti wants that position back, and as they head down towards Canada Corner, he may get it.
And that is the advantage of being able to do one more lap on those hot tyres. Oh, look, Michael Ed looking at the inside of Canada Corner. Crane was there on the outside. I presume the yellow flags would have been out as well. So even if Michael Andretti had made that pass stick, it would have been a very good move because he would have been called in for passing under the yellow. So he'll have to, locking up the brake there, Christian Fittipaldi. And they're coming out of that final corner. You can see the bridge at the top of the hill. Montoya is already well past that. He's still got a huge lead. And this now, the battle for second as Michael got a great zone. Look at this.
He's going to the outside as they head down. They're over 200 miles an hour now, heading towards turn number 1. Who's going to be brave on the brakes? It's Michael. Michael is brave on the brakes on the outside and sweeps past his teammate. Adrian Fernandez is not far behind them, and that means that Andretti's back into second place once again. Here's a replay of what happened to Jimmy Vasser. Now, he caught Brian Herter very quickly through the kink there, really gained a lot of speed on him, got down the inside as they headed towards Canada corner, fought it, but then locked up that right front, then the rears, and off it went, and there's no room for error there. You are straight into the gravel, and unfortunately, that is it. If you're into the gravel here at Road America, that's the end of your race, and they are managing to tow him away. As you say, Jeremy, I'm sure the yellows are being waved frantically down there as they take it away.
And Vasser had stopped the lap before Brian Herter, so Vasser's tyres were completely up to temperature. I'll reiterate, of course, in the FedEx Championship Series, they are not allowed tyre warmers, so when they go out of the pits after a scheduled stop, they are on stone-cold tyres. It takes a good lap or so to get those tyres up to temperature, and there is Jimmy Vasser, and he was on hot tyres. He was trying to make that move on Brian Herter there down at Canada corner, not able to pull it off, and off he goes, and he'll have to sit and watch the rest of this race.
Carpentier is in trouble. Patrick Carpentier, it's all been a bit disastrous for him this weekend after setting the 3rd fastest time in qualifying and then suffering the accident on Friday. Everything since then has gone wrong for him, and it looks as though it's all over for him.
Yeah, 10-4, 10-4.
Maybe try to coast it back to the pits, being passed there by Gualter Sales in the Eagle. Sales running down in 21st position. Alex Barron not in that car at the moment, although Alex tested for the Penske team last week at Michigan and put in a very impressive test on the super speedway in the Penske chassis, in fact, so we may well see Alex Barron driving for Penske at the Michigan Oval later in the year. But Patrick Carpentier's race, I think, is all over. He's taken the shortcut back to the pits, and that's the end of the day for him as the battle for 3rd continues between Fittipaldi and Fernandez.
With Kia in gear.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage. Helio Castroneves just getting past Maurizio Gugelmin. And Helio Castroneves taking advantage of a good slipstream up past the start-finish line to get past Maurizio Gugelmin. And that's the battle for 13th place. Both of them are somewhat further down than they would have liked. But Helio has at least made up some ground there. So now 13th position for Castroneves. Our race leader here, just to remind you, after 19 laps, it's Juan Montoya with an 11-second advantage. A huge advantage for Juan Montoya. Michael Andretti lies second. 2 seconds ahead of Fernandez, who got past Christian Fittipaldi. Great move for Adrian Fernandez. He managed to get past Fittipaldi, but bad news for Cristiano da Matta. Cristiano, the jockey-sized Brazilian who's astounded so many people this year with a great performance in the Arciero Wells team, has cried enough, or his car has cried enough. Unfortunately, he's out of the race, and that's the end of the day for Cristiano.
That's Chairman, as you said at the top of the show, Ben, that had been the best qualifying effort on a road course for the Toyota, and Da Matta, of course, already holds the record, so to speak, for Toyota on an oval when he was, 6th on the grid at Homestead, the first race of this season. So more disappointment there, but you know, this young man, he's immensely talented. He gets along so well with his race engineer Ian Watt. It's a very good combination, that, and this man is a star to be reckoned with for certain in the future.
Out of the race then for Cristiano da Matta, he joins Mimo Gidley, Scott Pruitt, Luis Garcia Jr., Jimmy Vasser and Patrick Carpentier as our retirements. Carpentier's problems confirmed as electrical troubles, and he is out of the race. So Greg Moore, his teammate, upholding honours for that team. He's running in 8th position. Frankitti's running 7th now after that mishap he suffered earlier on when he spun and then the pit stop. Tracy is ahead of him again, so there's about 3 seconds between Tracy in 6th position and Franchitti in 7th. If we look at Roberto Moreno running in 10th place in the points.
Yeah, running very, very well indeed. Last time round he actually got past Max Papis, so Moreno has done a fantastic job this weekend. He loves this track. He's gone well here. I think it was his first Champ Car start was here. 14 years ago in 1985, and he's won here before that in 83 actually in Formula Atlantic as well. Loves the track. Of course, missed out on the Friday morning session because Mark Blundell was supposed to drive that car this weekend, but Moreno gets a late call up. He gets up here in the afternoon, and there he is, having passed Max Papis and now into the top 10.
A very quick lap last time around from Adrian Fernandez, a 42.8, and a slow lap this time around from Montoya. That's interesting. I wonder if there was traffic to deal with.
No.
1 minute 45.
Yeah, there was certainly no traffic, Ben, so whether he made a mistake somewhere, I think he must have done, but certainly there was no traffic to contend with, I don't think.
Yeah, he just lost 2 seconds of his advantage. Not that that's a big problem, because it was 11 seconds and it's now 9 seconds, but interesting to see that. First evidence perhaps of a little mishap for Juan Montoya. 2 seconds slower on that last lap. Looks as though the car's running okay though, doesn't it? Everything sounds good. Engine, that V8 Honda motor sounds superb as ever. No obvious problems in terms of the handling department either. So Montoya continues. Quickly on the gear change there, from up into third, back down to second. Quick double change. He changes into fourth before he turns through the right-hander. Back down to second gear for the left-hander at turn 8, up towards the carousel now. Third and fourth. Hard on the power, and up towards the kink again, fifth gear. Flat through there, and then sixth gear, as we turn our attention to Alonso Jr. in for his second stop now. He was running in 17th position, running the Lola chassis again, remember, on for Alonso Jr. And no Penske's in the race at all. It is just the one car entry this weekend. Tarso Marquez is not out this weekend.
As you talked about, Alex Barron tested the Penske chassis for Marlboro Team Penske at Michigan, I believe. Is quite likely to make his
unfortunately,
debut. Let's get on the pits and Scott through it.
Puts you out, but tell us about that first turn. What happened to you out there?
Well, we were all going down in there, and I was up on the outside, and I think PJ had swerved to miss cars because all of a sudden there was dust and dirt and cars sliding, and I was on the outside of him, and he bumped me off, so I went straight off. And it was just real wild, but it's just unfortunate that the day has to end for us this way with looks like another engine problem, and it's bad for the team and for Pioneer. But we'll be back at Toronto. Hopefully we can turn things around.
And unfortunately, right next to you, Cristiano D'Amata has just come in as well. What put you out, Cristiano?
I had gearbox problems since the third lap, going downshifting to fifth. I was getting into neutral, and that was getting worse and worse. Afterwards, started to have this problem on third and other gears, so I had to stop because there wasn't a way to drive. Every turn you go into neutral.
They've hit each other. They've hit each other. Fernandez has hit the back of Fittipaldi. He gets going again, and it was the area that he managed to overtake before when he got past Christian Fittipaldi, but it was Michael Andretti he was trying to pass this time. Michael Andretti under attack from Adrian Fernandez, and this time it didn't quite work, and Adrian Fernandez hit the back of the Newman Haas car. Let's take another look at this. Michael Andretti ahead of Adrian Fernandez.
Yeah, and Fernandez is not even vaguely close enough to make any kind of a passing attempt. I'm not quite sure what he thought he was doing there. And Michael Andretti turns into the corner as usual, and Fernandez is just going way too fast and gets into the back of him there, and around he goes. And he'll be lucky there if there's no damage to either car. But Michael Andretti certainly continued in second place, and I think, he lost the place. Fernandez lost the place to Fittipaldi again, and now comes out in fourth place, right ahead of Gilles de Ferran. But strange miscue there for Adrian Fernandez.
Yes, he's been one of the fastest on track over the last few laps as Adrian Fernandez, but that's going to cost him some time, that last little spin. We'll see as he comes across the line. Meanwhile, look at the two Team Green cars together again. Tracy versus Franchitti. We've seen them deal with each other once already when Franchitti got past safely, and then he seemed to have the advantage of the pit stop, but Tracy got back past. So these two really enjoying a good tussle this afternoon. Franchitti determined to make up for that spin that he suffered earlier in the race, where he lost a good deal of time. Needs to get a strong result here this afternoon and get back into the championship chase. Heading down towards turn 3, not going to go for it unless he's absolutely sure of finding a way safely past Paul Tracy. Accelerating along this straight. Now this is the area that we saw Adrian Fernandez run into the back of Andretti. It is a potential overtaking spot, although Fernandez really wasn't positioned for that. But no, Franchitti doesn't try anything on that downhill section. There's Herter. Brian Herter's going slowly.
Yeah, I was wondering where he'd gone. He had been running in 9th place, right ahead of Roberto Moreno there, but limping very, very slowly into the pit lane there. And the Shell crew here is rushing down there to give him a push. It's uphill, of course. There's a couple of the kart safety team as well, also going to give him a push. But here we are on board with Michael Andretti. Whoa, look at that.
That was when he was hit by Adrian Fernandez.
Absolutely right.
So that's exactly what it looked like. Now, what do you think? Any damage possible on the back of Andretti's car?
Certainly possible, but he lost, looking at the lap times, he lost about 2.5 seconds here. That's about what he would have lost, I think, by sorting that one out and running wide there at turn 5 and getting back up to speed again. So he seems to be back up to full speed. We'll see you check his lap time this time around. He certainly doesn't seem to have lost a substantial amount of time, at least by comparison to the cars pursuing him now in 3rd, 4th and 5th place. But that's the battle of the 3rd there. Fittipaldi, Fernandez there in the middle of them, and Gilles de Ferran, the last of those 3.
And it looks as though Fernandez has got away with it too, doesn't it? I mean, normally you would expect the front wing to be damaged after a contact like that, but if you look at the car, it looks clean, it looks all right, and in fact, Fernandez has just done another quick lap at 1 minute 42.9, so again, he's the fastest man on track, and amazingly, as a result of that last little incident, it looks as though he's survived okay, and he's going to be challenging Fittipaldi in a moment's time to get back into 3rd place. Meanwhile, good quick lap also from Paul Tracy. He just did a 1 minute 42.7 as he continues the battle with his teammate Dario Franchitti. The 2 Team Green cars running in tandem at the moment. Greg Moore 8th, Roberto Moreno is 9th, Max Papis up to 10th now, with Kanaan 11th and Castroneves in 12th. There is the track map, there is the view of where Michael finds himself, heading down towards turn 8 here, the tight left-hander, and then heading towards the long right-hander at the carousel. This corner really doesn't have a comparable corner in race circuits in Europe nowadays, although it used to have, because the Oostenrijk ring used to have 2 corners which were very similar to this, the Rins curve and the Bosch curve, very long sweeping right-hand corners, and the drivers really enjoying the challenge that they present. Down towards Canada corner now. Accelerates cleanly out of there, not using too much curve, and up under the bridge. Cleanly through there and up to the final corner before he starts climbing steeply uphill towards start-finish line. Bit sideways on the exit there for Michael Andretti. Saw a number of accidents down there in qualifying because the timing beam was actually placed on the exit of that corner. For the race here, it's actually put back onto start-finish line. Andretti crosses that line and he's 11.7 seconds behind Montoya. Now then, Roberto Moreno looking at his progress throughout the race. Started in 16th place, moved up to 15th on lap 6. By lap 12 he was 14th, up to 11th by lap 18, and now lying in 9th position. And again lapping quickly, 1 minute 43.6 last time around. Let's see what the gap is between him and Greg Moore. Well, it's just about 2 seconds between himself and Greg Moore, both of course using the Mercedes power. Showing the oil flag up at the start-finish line, Jeremy. It could, of course, mean slippery surface somewhere as well. We've got a chance to go down to the pit lane and hear from team manager for Brian Herter, who we saw being pushed in to the pits just a moment ago. Team manager nowadays, of course, is the man himself, Bobby Rahal, no longer driving. He is the man behind the pit wall these days. And hopefully we'll get a chance in just a moment to hear from Bobby Rahal as to the reason that Brian Herter was pushed up into the pit lane.
Well, it's just done it again, apparently. It just quit on him. It sounds like we have an electrical problem in the ignition. Just quit. And he tried to cycle it, and usually that works to restart him, and it didn't. And came in here, it restarted, went out, and it's just quit again, I hear. So, bugs.
How tough is it for you today? I know this is one of your favorite racetracks not to be driving.
Well, I wished I could, if I could drive one circuit every day, it would be this one.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Juan Montoya lapping Brian Herter. Brian Herter has rejoined, but as you heard from Rahal, still suffering a cutting out problem. So it doesn't look as though he's going to be going much further. Montoya advantage of 11.5 seconds, a 1 minute 43.6 that last time around.
Yeah, look at this battle here. Look at De Ferran has gone ahead. Oh, and Fernandez there trying to get past De Ferran, and contact, and whoa, dear me. That was very strange. I'm not quite sure how De Ferran managed to get alongside Fernandez. I can only presume that Fernandez made a mistake at turn 14, and I think he has a puncture, does he? He seems to be jumping around. The front of the car seems to be jumping around quite a lot, but can't believe he got away with that one as well.
Montoya, we hear that Montoya has had a spin. Where is Montoya?
He's coming up to turn 6 now, Ben.
Yeah, he's got back on again, but he has had a spin apparently. We've just heard. We'll get a replay in a second. Got the onboard camera, of course, with Montoya today, so we might get a chance to see what happened. And it was down into turn 5. Down into turn 5 was where Montoya lost it. And look at that. He got away with it completely. What kind of luck does this man have? He lost it under the brakes. Let's take another look here. On the brakes hard, down through the gears, and around she went. And controlled it, just wound on the lock, got back on again, and there you go.
And lost about 3 seconds, I was thinking. It's unbelievable. I mean, look how close that nose of the car came to the barrier on the right-hand side of the racetrack there. Boy, you know, when luck goes your way, it goes your way. I mean, it was kind of a brilliant save. Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. I don't think he had a great deal to do with it in the early stages, but he got it pointed back nicely, but as you say, he was so close to the wall, and not a lot you can do about that. You're just in the lap of the gods on that one. But Montoya survives a major scare there on lap number 26 with 29 laps still to go. He crosses the line, and his advantage will have been narrowed, but he only lost, as you say, about 3 or 4 seconds, I think, in that incident. Cross the line goes Andretti, 6.9 seconds the gap between them. So what was that? He lost 4 seconds, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a 48.2 that lap. He'd been lapping inconsistently. I'd been looking at that on the chart here, and his last few laps was a 43.3, 43.9, 44.1, 43.8, 43.6. So it's rather more up and down, particularly there's absolutely no traffic to go with. Here he is his next time into turn 5. Yeah, a little bit more circumspect that time, I think.
He was quite late with the gear change there. I wonder if maybe he's got a gear change problem. And actually, we're just hearing now that there is some report of a gear linkage problem. Earlier on, it looked as though maybe that's why you're seeing the inconsistent times, if he's struggling with that gearbox.
Exactly, and I noticed this on the chart. I haven't said anything just yet, but I was wondering why, because he's normally pretty consistent out there, and that would explain it if there is a problem with the gear change on that car. And on a fast track like this, that is not what you want. Certainly the Reynard gearbox has been susceptible to some problems over the last few years. And I hope that he won't have any kind of a major selection problem. If it's just a problem getting it in every now and again, that perhaps he can get away with. We'll see, but it's certainly not what you want on a fast racetrack like this.
No, that's right. I think he's definitely struggling with that, and it sounded just now as though he made a funny gear change on the exit of turn 8 as well. It's still not right. Dario Franchitti's just put in a quick lap of 42.9. He still runs in 6th place. In fact, Franchitti has passed Tracy now.
Yeah.
So Franchitti's managed to get past his teammate.
You're right, he did that last time around. Has really turned up the wick. He's put in a string of fast laps here, has Dario Franchitti.
Across the line goes Montoya at 44.4, about a second slower than we would have expected, and that means the gap between himself and Andretti, well, it actually hasn't closed because Andretti was a bit slow on that lap as well. Meanwhile, cars being lapped. Alonso Jr. passed by Christian Fittipaldi. De Ferran hasn't managed to get past, and Fernandez survives. He's still going. Fernandez is still running, but he's down in 5th place now, and that last lap, a 44.6, not as quick as he would like. On board with Robbie Gordon at the moment as we continue our coverage here on Eurosport.
And more problems there, I think, for Helio Castroneves. As he came past the booth, as you were talking there, Ben, that engine had a big cough. It sounded very horrible indeed for Castroneves. He closed up onto the teammates of Tony Kanaan, was battling there for 11th place. The two former teammates in the Tasman Indy Lights team, of course. Big buddies as well, those two. And that was looking like a pretty good dice building up there. But there is Helio Castroneves. He is still kind of underpowered, but very much at reduced power there. And yet more problems for Hogan Racing. It's just incredible the bad luck that team is having this year.
Yeah, the mechanical troubles that they've been suffering. Now, Helio hasn't had his best weekend this weekend, but he was just up into the points. So that's another chance gone for them. Now, there is the man that's going so quickly at the moment, I do believe, Dario Franchitti. And in fact, he's catching up to Fernandez. There's Fernandez in the red and green car. And Franchitti has closed right up behind him now, absolutely flying and determined to make up some ground. And he perhaps might even be told by the team that Montoya's got some gear change problems, and that will make him feel much happier. He's had his own troubles, last race particularly. One of the front runners, was that coming into the pits, or was that somebody further down? No, Gilles de Ferran coming into the pits. De Ferran into the pits here from 4th position. So again, De Ferran is the first of the leaders to make a pit stop, and it does mean that he might have to have a bit more fuel on his last stop, the 3rd stop that we will be expecting to see. Now let's watch this pit stop and hope that it's a good clean one for the Brazilian. tyres off. The fuel goes in. Clean stop as it looks for the moment. All the team wearing crash helmets now, of course, following the accidents that have occurred a couple of times this year. Great stuff. No problem at all for De Ferro. De Ferro pulls out of the pits after his second scheduled pit stop. One or two others have been into the pits as well. In fact, Paul Tracy came in on that lap as Juan Montoya continues to lead this race, but with a question mark. Does he have a major problem with the gearbox? He's been told to nurse it already by the team, and his lead is down to 6 seconds over Michael Andretti. Fittipaldi in third. Fernandez is fourth, but under increasing pressure from Dario Franchitti, who is flying at the moment. In the pits is Michel Jourdain, and he's running in 15th position. Good clean run so far from the Mexican, who's had a bit of a disastrous season. On board now with Michael Andretti, running in second place, 6 seconds. His lead last time around. You're looking at lap 28 when it was 7, but it was down to 6 last time around as Montoya nurses his gearbox. Now, you have to say that one of the critical times for Montoya will be when he comes into the pits next time, Jeremy, because you go right down through the gears, and also when you load up that first gear coming out of the pits, it's often when we see a failure.
That's exactly right, Ben, and he will be not looking forward, I think, to that pit stop, and as you say, a big propensity there for a disaster for Juan Montoya. He's just trying to keep it smooth there. Comes out of turn 3 onto the long back straight, underneath that Texaco Havoline bridge, and down again towards turn 5, where he will have to use that troublesome second gear.
Watch where he changes gear, though. He really waits until he's into the corner. There's Franchitti, meanwhile, in the pits. Franchitti with a new set of slicks on and refueling, getting ready to go. Yes, gets away cleanly. No problems for Dario Franchitti. But Montoya noticed it on that last corner. He's changing down virtually in the middle of the corner to avoid it causing him a trouble under the braking area. Remember, normally getting all the braking and gear changing done before they turn in. But with this problem, he's really being careful as to where he changes gear.
That's right, and it certainly is causing him some problems. He's losing at least 1 second per lap over the pace he was running before, and he's clearly not very comfortable out there, and he is really having to work hard, and the gap is coming down quite substantially. There is the second place car back on board now with Juan Montoya, but you saw also how close Fittipaldi had got to Michael Andretti.
Again, you see Montoya really fiddling with the gear change all the way through the corner.
On fuel and pit, go +3.
Looks like he'll be coming in this time. We'll listen out for the radio. Chip Ganassi on the radio to his young charge here, and this is going to be a worrying time. Again, hard changes down halfway through the corner.
Nice and easy now, nothing fancy. Nice and easy.
I don't call that nice and easy. They're flat out up the hill there, but now gets it down to the 50 mile an hour speed limit there along pit lane, 50 miles an hour. And Michael Andretti also in the pits, Christian Fittipaldi once again is not.
So Fittipaldi manages to stay out there again.
Guy there.
Michael is into the pit lane, but Fittipaldi will have...
reset the fuel, turn off the speed control. Take it easy going out of the pit.
That's interesting.
Ready?
Turn off the speed control. Watch his start. I bet he's very cautious with his getaway.
Go, go, go!
But not that cautious. Spins the wheels quite nicely. Gearbox seems to be working so far. This is where Greg Moore lost the lead last year. Somebody pulling off at the end of the pit lane there, just behind. It's Moreno. It's Roberto Moreno's just pulled off at the end of the pit. Something major has gone wrong there. Meanwhile, Fernandez in the pit lane had a problem getting away, and I think he lost a bit of time there, Fernandez. As he rejoins, Tony Kanaan is in the pits behind him as well. It's all happening, isn't it? But what about Roberto Moreno?
Yeah, great stuff there. That's a shame. He really had doing a nice race, Roberto Moreno. He moved himself up to 7th place. He was actually 6th as he came past here and then pulled off there. What a shame for Roberto Moreno.
Fittipaldi is race leader. He does seem to be able to go that bit further on fuel, and the advantage that will bring is that he will have a little less fuel in the car for the third stop, so he should be a fairly short stop third time around. I think we'll see some drivers not changing tyres on that third stop. They'll just put fuel in. Now he is getting the signal to pit. Let's listen out as he heads up into pit lane, and this is lap number 32 for him. Well, it will be as he comes into the pit lane with some 23 to go.
It's awfully late to pull across sector road into pit lane, but there is
Fittipaldi
negotiates currents there, puts on the speed limiter there, and 50 miles an hour. Boy,
Mark,
so
you got
slow.
a clean pit lane in and out. The only guy on pit lane. Good stop, guys.
Again, calmness on the radio to try and encourage him to stop smoothly in the right place.
Reset your fuel meter, Christian. Reset your meter.
Tyres go on cleanly, no problems getting any off. All on, I think, safely.
Go, 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 go.
And away he goes. And a 12.8 second stop and a fist in the air from one of the crew members. He rejoins as Montoya goes past. So Fittipaldi now finds himself not that far behind Montoya. Now, did Greg Moore come in on that lap? We were expecting to see him come in as well.
No, Moore did not. He actually took the lead of the race there when Fittipaldi... Oh, there's Walter Salas, another major engine failure there. That's yet another Toyota out of the race.
Yes, Toyota's not having a good day. We lost Scott Pruitt earlier on with some sort of problem. We've lost Cristiano D'Amata as well, and now it's Walter Salas' turn. He takes the escape road, and that is the end of the day for him. Meanwhile, Chip Ganassi down in the pits. We will have a chance, I think, to catch up with Chip Ganassi in a moment. Greg Moore leads this race now, and still with his stop to do. Let's hear from Chip Ganassi.
What is the gearbox situation, Chip, for Juan?
Well, Gary, apparently he gets all the gears when he wants them sometimes, but sometimes he doesn't. So it's some sort of linkage problem, we're thinking. And apparently he can drive with it. He's done plenty of laps quicker than Michael, even though he's had that problem. So I'm just telling him to baby it right now, bring it home.
Now, in this nursing it situation, what is your primary concern? I mean, is this intermittent that you have no control over, or is there something he can do as a driver?
My primary concern is getting to the end of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Well, he's been able to do it all season long with a lot of flair. Let's see what he can do now with an ailing gearbox.
Well, we shall see. He's doing a fine job at the moment, but if that problem gets worse, it could be very difficult for him. If it jams in gear and he can't change at all, then he's going to be in real trouble. Now, Greg Moore, race leader as he comes into the pits. It's Greg Moore who comes in, and this is another important stop. Of course, last year was race leader and lost it at this very point coming out of the pits. The gearbox broke. Let's listen up for a moment. This will mean that Montoya goes back in front, but Fittipaldi is now up into second position, 5 seconds behind. Good clean stop from Greg Moore. Out he goes once again, but Fittipaldi now up into second, and he'll have the same situation as before. There you are with Michael Andretti bearing down on him. Once again, Fittipaldi's out in front of his teammate after the pit stop, and once again, Michael is determined to find a way past. So, last time we saw him do it at turn 1. It's quite a long way away from that part of the circuit here, and gradually easing in and closing that gap between them.
This is Christian Fittipaldi's 71st start in the championship cars, still looking for his first victory. He is the most experienced driver yet to win a race in this field. He's driven well all weekend. He's been towards the front in each of the sessions. He really has deserved it. He's driven so well really over the last, all this year. He's been very consistent, and a win is overdue for the Brazilian.
Well, we shall have to wait and see. It's Montoya who's out front at the moment.
With Kia in gear.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage from Road America, this 4-mile track in northern Wisconsin in the middle of the United States. And Dario Franchitti has just run into trouble. He's just come into the pit lane in front of us, and we saw him slowing a few moments ago. It looks as though it's a blown engine for the Scotsman, and Franchitti is out of this race just when he needed to get a good bunch of points here today to keep the championship chase alive. Third place in the championship coming into this race, but there he is, and it looks as though it's all done.
Such a disappointment for the Scotsman. He had a quick spin on Friday in qualifying here, but came back strongly, and he has a good car, and there he is in the pit lane.
The Team Green crew members go to work on the back of Franchitti's car, but I think it's all over. The noise is that it was making as it went past, and Franchitti climbing out, and look at this, Montoya just lapping. Let's hear from Jimmy Vasser.
Some rear tires in the first run, and I was dialing front bias into it. You know, we're running these bigger master cylinders this weekend. I think in race conditions it was turned out to be a bad idea. Just went in there and locked up the rears. You know, just nothing really I could do for some reason. It has an adverse effect on the rear braking, and you know, it's unfortunate, but we're here pulling for one to have another great race.
It's got to be tough for you because it seems like you just got a little black cloud chasing you all of a sudden in 1999.
Yeah, well, 99's not over yet. So we got a great group of target guys over here, and you know, it's only halftime. So you know, we had a good qualify this weekend. Unfortunately, it was a bad race. We couldn't put it together again, but you know, I'm confident in myself and in my team that we'll be back on track, back in the winner's circle.
See you next week in Toronto. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
And Montoya nearly went off again at that precise point. Look at that, turn 5, and look at how much closer Fittipaldi's got. You saw him again lock up the brakes that time, no doubt struggling to get a gear at the same point, and Montoya losing out. And as you can see, last time around the lead was 3.6 seconds, and he's just lost a bit more of that.
Certainly has been, and this is becoming fascinating as we're building down there. We've still got 20 laps remaining, still a long way to go in this race, and clearly, of course, Montoya has a problem there, and it's particularly under braking for the slower corners. Here again, down to third gear there for Canada corner, gets out of there smoothly. We believe the problem primarily there is with second gear, and with a bit good news there for Montoya, because the chasing car of Christian Fittipaldi actually held up a little bit by Richie Hearn, the lapped car of Richie Hearn.
Yeah, so in fact that 3.6 second gap may not be too different as they cross the line. There goes Montoya past our commentary position. Across goes Fittipaldi, 3.6 seconds, I think it stays. And Michael Andretti still there in third place. He's also got to find a way past Richie Hearn. Let's go down to the pit lane and hear from Roberto Moreno.
Okay, Roberto, what was the problem?
Today, basically, we had a bit of an electrical problem that put us out of the race. But the Motorola Pack West car did really well, because we had a tough time this time coming from 16 and making our way up to 9th. And I was looking good. I was even catching Greg Moore, who is now running 7th. Unfortunately, something has gone wrong with the electricals. We have to check out what it is.
We'll see you in 2 more events now, substituting for Mark.
Yes, indeed. Marco is only going to come back after Michigan, so the team has asked me to stay in for a couple more events, and I'm very, very glad again choose to do the job. And the guys did a great job today. I came in behind Canahan, and in the pits, came out in front of him big time, so we did a good job today anyhow.
Thanks, Roberto. Let's get back to Jan with Dario, I believe.
Yes, and Dario, we have documented that it was the turbo, but how was the car prior to that? You had some great lap times going there, at least for a while.
Car was fantastic. You know, there's only so much my guys and I can do to make it happen. If things keep breaking on the car, we're never going to get anywhere. It's the second problem I've had. You know, my guys are working so hard, and things out of their control keep breaking, so I'm very disappointed.
How hard is that for your confidence? Because it's also hard for you to stay confident if you have mechanical problems.
My confidence is fine. I know that we have the fastest car out there today, and you know, I was a bit, I mean, their day started going wrong when they red flagged the race for no apparent reason. Started going downhill from there.
Well, I can understand Dario being upset about that initial red flag. He made a great start on the original start, made up several places, and it was really what he didn't need to see the red flag come out, and then he had to try again, and on the restart he wasn't able to make up much ground. So bad day for Dario Franchitti. Meanwhile, a bit of a problem with the timing and scoring system here, so we're going to trust your lap chart as ever, Jeremy. It seems to have gone slightly wrong. 37 laps have been completed now. There are 18 laps to go. And what about that gap between Montoya and Fittipaldi? It is definitely narrowing.
It certainly is, Ben. It's annoying because I didn't bring my stopwatch this afternoon for some reason. Not quite sure why. I do have the chart, so we can at least keep track of who is where. But there, Michael Andretti, they're getting sideways under braking.
PJ Jones has gone off down into the gravel trap and out of the race completely there. So PJ Jones nosing it into the tyre barrier, out of this one.
That's a shame. PJ was running in 10th place, having a pretty good battle with Michel Jourdain Jr., those two, and he's really under pressure, PJ Jones. JJ Leto tested that car at Mid-Ohio about 10 days ago, and they wanted a second opinion on the Swift chassis. JJ gave it to them, and here is a replay. Here is PJ completely on his own here, locks up the brakes, they just left his braking way too late, and skates on, and Michel Jourdain says thank you very much indeed, and goes through to claim 10th place, and that'll be, as a good run by Jourdain. It'll be, if he can stay there, that'll be his first points of the season, and long overdue, let me tell you.
Yes, meanwhile Gutermans and Alonso Jr. have just come into the pits. That was Pat Patrick you were looking at. PJ, as you say, very much under pressure in that team. There's talk that Jan Magnussen will also be testing his car fairly soon. JJ Leto has already been out in this at Mid-Ohio, and PJ's tenure of that Patrick Racing seat is not going to be for very much longer, I think, at this rate.
No, particularly when he makes mistakes like that while running up amongst the points. That's not a good career move there by PJ Jones.
So Montoya stays in front at the moment. So he's still got a narrow advantage over Christian Fittipaldi. Now remember, we're expecting there to be one more pit stop in this race. It shouldn't be a long pit stop. It should be a relatively short stop for the additional fuel required to complete the extra distance that they've put into the race this year. And we'll just have to wait and see. I think Andretti at this point not doing anything too dramatic, just settling there in third position and waiting for that last pit stop to play out before he really puts in a charge. 3 times winner here, remember, Michael Andretti, and he'd love to become the only driver to have won 4 events at this Road America circuit. Back on board with him then as we head down towards the carousel. And Montoya, there he is, just ahead of Fittipaldi, and then we see Michael Andretti, top 3, and they're all separated by just a couple of seconds. 4th position is
Gilles de Ferran, who's also just out of the picture there. But we're on board here again with Montoya, looking back to the second place car of Michael Andretti. I'm looking at the, I made a mistake in looking at the scoring margin, sorry about that. Christian Fittipaldi, of course, in second place, Michael in third, and de Ferran in fourth, and those 4 cars, only, what, 3 or 4 seconds between them.
Again, you could hear Montoya changing down virtually in the middle of that last corner, and now as we look from his rear-facing onboard camera, for the first time really today in this race, we can see the second place runner. It's been such a huge gap most of this afternoon that we haven't been able to see anybody in second place. Montoya's had an advantage of up to 11 seconds, and now he's really going to have to keep an eye on things. This is where he's under pressure. He's got to try and get the best from his car whilst nursing it at the same time and coming under attack from 2 drivers. Christian Fittipaldi, who's never won a race, and Michael Andretti, who's won plenty of races in his career. 38 victories for Michael Andretti in his time. The most recent coming, of course, this year at the Gateway track. And Michael would just love to be able to take the win here, particularly after what happened to him last year when he led this race, dropped back to second, and then had a tyre failure on the very last lap of the race. So Montoya, Fittipaldi getting that little bit closer again as they come through turn 8. Fittipaldi just sliding around a little bit. Let's listen to Montoya's car here. Still flat out through that kick. 6th gear on the exit. Now listen to the down change. Sounded to me as he took that in a gear high. Sounded like he took that probably in 4th gear rather than in 3rd gear. Again, did you listen to that down change right in the middle of the corner?
Strange place to make a downshift, certainly, and he's just got to be careful. The fewer gear shifts he can make, the better off he is going to be.
Now, meanwhile, there's a good battle going on back here. This is Paul Tracy in 5th place ahead. The first car of that group is actually a car to be lapped. That's Richie Hearn. Behind Paul Tracy is Adrian Fernandez. So Tracy and Fernandez are battling over 5th position at the moment. And Richie Hearn there has just got to keep an eye on his mirrors as he's about to be lapped, but he doesn't quite get out of the way. So Tracy has Fernandez breathing down his neck. Good opportunity this for Fernandez. Now Richie Hearn gets right out of the way, but that has meant the gap has come right down between Tracy and Fernandez, and Fernandez again going very quickly now. We saw him in the early stages of this race going quickly, then he hit the back of Michael Andretti's car, and then for some reason he hit the back of de Ferran's car. Now he goes for it down the inside into turn 5. Has he braked too late? No, this time a perfectly executed manoeuvre, and Fernandez takes over that 6th position. And Barry Green talking to Paul Tracy, just saying, keep cool, don't get rattled by that, that's okay, just keep going. Fernandez has consistently been one of the fastest on the track here today, and now he's got the car back to his liking again. I think we're going to see him close up some more space. He needs to catch up a bit of space to Gilles de Ferran. Will be the next one.
Yeah, quite a long way ahead of him actually is Gilles de Ferran here. A huge gap, in fact, back to the next car. So this is a battle for 5th place, as you say, and the race leaders just watching out of the booth here, and it shouldn't be too long now before the race leaders come past. This is lap 41 we are on, and there they go through turn 12. Brian Herder, who has had a problem, is in the pits one more time.
Just about a second gap between Montoya and Fittipaldi, as we see Herter cruising down that pit lane again. And 13 laps to go now in this race, with one stop coming at some point in those laps to go. The critical point will be that final stop. And also, of course, the big question is, can Juan Montoya keep this car going with this struggling with this gearbox, a problematic gearbox, and can he keep it going? This is an area where we've seen him in trouble, and that's where Fittipaldi closes up. I think perhaps Montoya using third gear in a couple of areas where normally he'd be using second gear, just trying to minimize the number of gear changes that he makes, and therefore he's not going to be as quick through some of these corners as he would like to be, and he's therefore going to have to take a few risks perhaps on some of the higher speed corners where the gear changing is not a factor. Michael doesn't seem to be able to keep the same pace, interestingly enough. He's dropped away a little bit from Christian Fittipaldi, and at this point in the race, perhaps the car not handling quite as well as it was in the early stages. Let's just listen here for a moment. In fact, he's radioing through that he wants 4 new tyres on his last pit stop, and De Ferran goes off at the side of the track, smoke emanating from behind the car, and it looks like another engine problem for Gilles De Ferran. And that's cruel luck for the man who was second in the championship coming into this race. I tell you what, if Montoya comes through all this to win today, he is going to be able to take a massive leap in the championship. And De Ferran, the bad luck going his way once again here today as he goes out of it.
That is a shame. Again, he'd driven very well indeed. He was just hanging on to the tail of those other 3 cars ahead of him as we look at Juan Montoya on to lap 43, 12 laps to go. That is the gap. You can see them there, first and second. At the top of the hill there is Michael Andretti in third. But Gilles De Ferran, how much bad luck does this man have to have?
It just seems to go from bad to worse, doesn't it? Although he's had a good couple of runs in the last few races, second place last time out in Cleveland, the win in Portland, and third place in Milwaukee before that. Before that, though, he had a couple of unlucky races. Montoya gets it again a bit sideways as he clambers up the hill beneath the Toyota bridge. Really is a great deal steeper, that hill, than it looks on television. It's one of those hills that if you have to walk up it, you certainly know about it. And now they start to plunge back downhill again through the left-hander at turn number 8, and look how close Christian's getting.
Noticeably closer, isn't he, this time around, though, as they go into the carousel turn there for the 43rd time. We look back from Juan Montoya. A little wisp of smoke there out of the back of the car as he accelerates out of the carousel and flat out through the kick one more time. That's great, isn't it?
He is so quick, and look how much he opens up over Christian there at that particular section of track. But I'm sure you're right there. There was a little wisp of smoke from the back of Montoya's car. Perhaps that gearbox is struggling even more, overheating perhaps because of the difficulty on the gear changes. Now then, I think we've got a chance to hear from Derek Walker, team owner of Gilles De Ferran.
Walker can tell us, was it a motor problem?
It looks like that, Gary. Until we get it back, we won't know for sure, but something went bad on it.
After working their way up to second in points, this has got to be a crushing blow, but still, midpoint of the season. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
Yes, midpoints of the season, 10 races completed at the end of this one today, another 10 to go. Still a long way to go, but a critical phase in the championship, really, with this one, Toronto next weekend, and Michigan the weekend after. These 3 on the truck really could decide the outcome of the 1999 FedEx Championship Series. Now, for Montoya, who's come into this race with a 25-point lead, it looks okay, except for this gear change problem, and that really could end his hopes today. Look how close Fittipaldi gets. Again, it's these slow corners where Montoya is struggling on the gear change.
Again, yeah, you heard that blip there on the downshift there up into turn 6, and that was certainly much more of a blip, I think, than you would normally expect. But he's still turning some very fast lap times. Last time around, the scoring's back up here. The Omega scoring is back up and running here. 42.6 last time around for Juan Montoya. The gap between the two officially 1.5 seconds, that's about what it looks like there. But here he goes through the carousel one more time, and it's the slower corners that he has a problem. There's Herter there, keeps right out of the way. He has had some problems, lots of unscheduled stops, and Fittipaldi have to go around the outside of him at the king. Good job there for Herter, keeps right out of the way.
Yes, but that has given Montoya perhaps a little bit of breathing space. Again, the gear changing not as crisp as it should be. And again, you can just hear the problem. And of course, nowadays with a sequential shift as they use in champ cars, they don't have the buttons on the steering wheel like in Formula 1. They have the sequential shift. You go up through all the gears, just move the lever back one each time you change up, and push it forward one each time you change down. but you can't miss out a gear, like in the older days of racing cars, where you could perhaps go from second to fourth and miss out third gear altogether if that was causing you a problem. Nowadays you can't do that. You have to go through each of the gears, and that does mean that when things go wrong, sometimes it's less easy to nurse the gearbox home. Again there, look at that down change, right on the exit of the corner, that was.
Curious place to be downshifting. It's odd. But, you know, he's driving brilliantly. You've got to say, Paul Tracy, incidentally, there he is, into the pit lane for his final pit stop. 11 laps to go, and here is Team Cool Green at work, the 5th place car.
So, the only remaining car for the team, and this could see Paul Tracy getting another decent point scoring finish here today. A winner in Milwaukee earlier on this season, lying in 8th place in the championship coming into this race, and has been in the points the last few occasions. 4th last time out in Cleveland, 5th at Portland. He's beginning to put together a much more consistent season now, and so much happier within the team now that the engineering strength has been changed around a little bit. Tony Cicali working with Paul Tracy so much more now, the veteran race engineer. And veteran race engineers seem to be the flavour of the month, because Mo Nunn, of course, working so well with Juan Montoya, the team that's leading the championship.
Now, this is kind of interesting. There's Robbie Gordon there, and he leaves clear passage for Juan Montoya. Those two actually had a bit of a barney on Friday, I think it was, and they had, in the first practice session, I think Robbie Gordon inadvertently held up a little bit Juan Montoya through the carousel, and after they came out of the kink, Montoya effectively drove Robbie Gordon off the road, and Robbie Gordon retaliated by punting him up the rear going into Canada corner. They're just making his point. I think he doesn't want to be muscled around by anybody. He certainly didn't hold up Montoya on purpose. So not a great deal of love lost there, but good to see Robbie Gordon there staying out of the way and let these two get on with their battle for the lead.
Now I think Montoya was being told there to come into the pits at the end of this lap, so we shall wait and see if that's exactly what's going on. We shall see whether he comes in. Now, we are expecting the last round of pit stops to come up at any time now, really. 10 laps to go, some 40 miles. It's still quite a long way to go, and still that gearbox is a major concern. Black flag being held out for Max Papis. That's interesting. Max Papis sees the black flag, and he's actually been brought, he's in the pit lane anyway at the moment. So Papis into the pits for routine service, but a black flag was also being held out for it.
Not inconceivable. He might have had a radio communication problem, and the crew might have asked race control to hang out the black flag so to make sure that they bring him into the pits when he needs fuel. Certainly, this is about the time he does need fuel. He pitted last on lap 30, now on lap 45, 10 laps to go to the finish. So service completed there for Max Papis, and he rejoins in 7th position.
Actually, it's been a good drive for Max Papis. They've been struggling this weekend with both cars, but Papis has kept his head down. He qualified in 14th place, but he's gradually worked up the order, and he's now, as you say, in 7th position. So the Italian seeing a stronger race here today.
Yeah, kind of. It's really through attrition, Ben, more than anything else. A lot of people fallen out of this race, certainly, but good pit stops and a consistent drive, though, certainly by Max Papis, and he will certainly be on for a top 7 or 8 at the very worst.
Montoya into the pits and Fittipaldi into the pits at the same time. Now that's interesting. I wondered if we'd see him hold it out a bit longer. Montoya flies into that first section, then hits the speed limiter. Fittipaldi right behind him, and now again a critical stop. Michael Andretti's in. The top 3 all in on this critical stop with 9 laps to go here at Road America. Is Montoya going to be able to hold them off?
Reset the fuel.
Let's listen out to the radio.
It's going to be a short spill here.
He is going for new tyres.
3, go, go, go.
Does the gearbox hold out? Yes, it does. And Fittipaldi and Andretti all get going. So it's exactly the same as they come back out onto the circuit. And watch out for Montoya on cold tyres. He's always so quick when the tyres are cold, when he first goes out without heated tyres. And Montoya has to watch out for cold tyres and that gearbox problem as he holds on and stays ahead of Christian Fittipaldi.
And certainly no problems there for coming out of the pits there for the race leader. So that was pretty interesting. No problems there going through second gear. And there he is down at turn 5 there. There is Christian Fittipaldi in pursuit of the race leader. Fittipaldi, of course, is again. Oh, he almost lost it there, Ben.
So close. what reactions. This guy has got such amazing car control, and that was just superb from Montoya. Again, that would have been a gear change problem. Again, it was a slow second gear corner, and somehow he saved it, but that was just brilliant from Montoya.
Spectacular stuff, wasn't it, by the race leader. He is driving brilliantly. You know, he's been so consistent before these last 5 or 6 laps. I talked earlier in the middle portion of the race how inconsistent he was as he got used to that gear shift problem. He was obviously able to contend with that and get back that consistency that he needed, and he really is driving superb.
So Montoya managing to hold on to that moment and still getting away from Fittipaldi. Amazing, how does he do it? And surely now Andretti has to push as hard as possible, really go full attack mode to get past his teammate. In between them, by the way, is Greg Moore, and Greg Moore running in third place. It was such a great stop from Greg Moore's team that sorry, he hasn't been in. Sorry, yes, that's why he hasn't been into the pits yet. So Greg Moore, they're running in third position, and then Michael Andretti. But of course, this does matter to Michael. He needs to get past Moore quickly if he's to get on terms with Fittipaldi. Christian himself, looking at that, started fourth, currently in second place, has never won a race in the Champ Cars in spite of his 71 starts it is today, and he just would love to get a win here today. A number of drivers have had their first time wins here, in fact. Of course, Dario Franchitti took his first ever win here last season. Jacques Villeneuve took his first ever Champ Car win at this track. That was back in 1994. And funnily enough, his uncle, Jacques Villeneuve Sr., took his first win at this track back in 1985. And the other first-time winner was Hector Rabac in 1982, although that was a bit of a bizarre result. More to do with fuel consumption than anything else, but another first-time winner at this racetrack.
Right, and Paul Tracy had his first pole here as well for Marlboro Team Penske back in, that was in 92. And he's had a good success here in the past. He's won 3 times in the past, 92, 93 and 94, Paul Tracy. He's running now in 6th place. Doesn't seem to be a challenger for the lead, but there again, Montoya making that gear shift right at the exit of the corner.
Yeah, just making sure that it doesn't unsettle the car as he goes into the turn. It's easier to sort it out on the exit in a way than it is on the way in into the corner. That's when it can really go sideways, a little bit like it did just a few moments ago. Oh, this is amazing. Can he hold on? I tell you what, this would really be one of the most remarkable drives we've seen in recent years if he can hold on in spite of this problem, which we've seen has caused him all sorts of hassles. And again, he's across the line. 48 laps completed, 7 to go. Look at the rear wing on Tracy's car. Tracy's rear wing all over the place, and surely he's going to have to come in. He can't continue like that, can he?
And he can't, and they will for sure have to
Montoya, he's in trouble. It's all over. Juan Montoya slows down, and he's out of the race. And what sadness for the Colombian. It looks so good.
Bring it home.
Ganassi telling him to bring it home, but we didn't see exactly what happened, but suddenly the car was going slowly. He's struggling to get a gear at all now. Look, it's coasting up the hill. And poor Montoya, he's driven so superbly here this afternoon. We hear that the black flag is going to be held out for Paul Tracy. No surprise there, and I'm astonished he didn't come in on that last lap. But listen to Montoya.
Do you have any gears at all?
It's just, I don't think he can get a gear at all now. Fernandez, look, here we are on board. Let's listen.
Yeah, he has a gear, but it's a low gear. It's only... Now he can't find anything at all, can he?
No, absolutely nothing. Look at that.
No, there he's got one.
He's found one.
Oh, it's a low gear. I'd say it's maybe second gear or something like that. It's not the gear you want when you're coming onto this long straight here, but he will try and limp it back. No, he tried again there to make it. He's getting straight.
No, he's just got that one low gear. I think you're right, Jeremy. Second, perhaps. And yeah, I think he'll leave it there now. There's only the only way he's going to get back to the pits. He's just going to have to drive back in second gear, and it's all over. And who is leading this race? It is Christian Fittipaldi. Christian Fittipaldi leading here with 6 laps to go, chased by his teammate Michael Andretti, because Greg Moore has now come into the pits. So Moore's got out of the way, and it is going to be a run to the flag between the two Newman-Haas teammates. The most successful team here at Road America. The team has taken 6 wins, but which of their drivers is going to win today?
Well, Christian Fittipaldi really would deserve it. A couple of years ago here, he was in great position, I think, towards the end of the race. He was leading and he had an engine failure. So he's always driven well at this racetrack. He, another one, as another of the drivers who says, you know, it is his favourite racetrack.
Paul Tracy's come into the pits. He was given the black flag, and Tracy has indeed now come into the pit lane with that very wonky looking rear wing, and that's dropped him out of 5th position. So there's disappointment again for Team Green. They lost Franchitti with an engine problem, and now, or a turbo problem it was, and now Tracy out of it as well. On board with Michael Andretti. Now then, what can he do? Can he lap fast enough? His last lap was only a 44.3. Montoya, meanwhile, has made it back to the pit lane. So that second gear has allowed him to get back to the pit lane, and well, I don't think there's anything that they're going to be able to do about it.
He actually came into the pits. He was in 8th position as he pulled into the pits because there's huge attrition in this race, most unusual, and the crew there, no drastic, no frantic work there at all, and unbuckling, and out climbs one Montoya. Pat on the back there from the crew. Sad consolation for a tremendous drive by the young Colombian.
Yeah, it really was superb, wasn't it, Jeremy? I mean, the way he pulled away in the early stages of this race just disappeared into the distance, and then the way he stayed in front in spite of that gearbox problem for so many laps. This guy has got real class, and he jumps out of the car, goes and has a chat with Monan, talks about the problem, calm and cool. This is one of the toughest tracks to drive physically, and yet he looks as though he's just been for a little sprint, isn't it? This was where it really went wrong. It was out of turn 3. That was where he couldn't get a single other gear. So that was a replay of what happened to Montoya, and there is our race leader, Christian Fittipaldi, and it looks to me as though he's got it in hand over Michael Andretti.
No question about it. He just put a lap there on Michel Jourdain Jr. as they're going into turn 1, so he has the luxury too of a slower car between himself and Michael Andretti. Last time around, Mikey had a faster lap by about 3 or 4 or 5 tenths of a second there, but he has that lap car to contend with before he can even think of getting on terms with his teammates.
Yes, and that's going to be tough to do. 5 laps to go, well, 4.5 laps to go now, as they're at the back section of the track through the kink once more. 3rd place is a long way behind these two, and it is Adrian Fernandez. So Fernandez has survived his various little incidents here this afternoon so far. He lies in 3rd place with a big margin over 4th placed Greg Moore. 5th place is Max Papis now, 6th for Tony Kanaan, and dropping down the order as a result of coming into the pits, Paul Tracy, being shown to be in 7th, and of course now Montoya's 8th. It means that Michel Jourdain Jr. is, he was in 8th, so he's now moved up into 8th position himself, Michel Jourdain Jr. We've got a chance, I think, to go down to the pits and hear from Montoya, and well, no doubt he will be so disappointed. Let's see if we get a chance to catch up with him.
Storybook season for the rookie has taken a downward spiral all of a sudden. You had gearbox for a long time. How difficult was it to nurse those problems?
But it was difficult because 2nd and 3rd gear, only when I had traction it would work. If I would go off the throttle, just get like neutral. So I would have to go like in 4th gear, and just when I was putting the power, I would go down. And sometimes we just jump into 1st gear or into neutral. That's why I was putting the back straight. Went back to 5th and jumped to 1st and just got me around.
The fact that you were able to make it last as long as it did you think you might be able to get to the end of this race?
Oh yeah, you know, we're not that far. We're about 8 laps to go. And we still have the lead, you know, so the car was brilliant, you know. We could have, without that, we'd have beat them by ages, but we didn't.
Thank you, Juan.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't seem too down by it, does he? I mean, what a superb performance he's put on today. You have to say, absolutely brilliant, and if it wasn't for that gearbox problem, as he says, he would have just disappeared up the road, I think. Had an 11-second lead before anything started to go wrong. No problems at all at that stage, and then once the gearbox problem came in, he still managed to stay in front.
And nice of him to explain there about why he was shifting there on the exit of the corner at the apex coming out of the corner. It's only when he was under traction there, when the engine was pulling forward, that he was able to select the next gear. So that was why we we heard, I should say, those strange gear shift patterns when 112 was in the lead. But certainly he has driven superbly today, and it's a great disappointment for him, but he knows how well he drove, he knows how good he had made the car, because he really did struggle on Friday and particularly Saturday morning. He was not happy with the balance of that car, so he worked together with his race engineer Maurice Nunn, and the car clearly was working to perfection this afternoon.
A 1 minute 43.9 for Fittipaldi that lap, a 1 minute 44.3 for Michael Andretti. So Christian is still faster than Michael, and Michael Andretti can do nothing about his teammate at this point. Andretti chasing Montoya in the championship, and certainly of the front runners that we've got here at the moment, it's Andretti who stands to gain the most by finishing well up. It looks as though it's going to be second place for Michael Andretti, but Andretti's still very much in the hunt, and with Montoya not scoring today, it could make quite a big difference. It would mean that Michael Andretti would move up into second place in the championship, and that chase would be very interesting as we go to places like Toronto and Michigan, where it's going to take Montoya perhaps a little while to really feel at home, particularly on the super speedway at Michigan. So Michael Andretti keeping up his championship hopes. There he is. We ride on board with him now through the carousel, and it does look as though he hasn't really quite got an answer for Fittipaldi. Let's listen to him through the kink here. Really quick, perhaps just again a little ease off the throttle, up to over 200 miles an hour again, but it's really quite hard to see where Fittipaldi is. The advantage just under 4 seconds by now, and Fittipaldi lapping consistently, smoothly, and very, very quickly.
Absolutely, there's no question, I think, that Michael Andretti catching Fittipaldi. Michael Andretti has to hope for some kind of a problem. Of course, what was it, 3 years ago, on the very last lap into Canada corner, Alonso Jr. had that massive engine failure. We saw it at the top of the show. And just before that, I think Christian Fittipaldi had been running in second place. That's when he had that problem, if my memory serves me correctly. And now the boot slightly on the other foot. Christian Fittipaldi this time is in the lead, and he has just less than 2 laps to go for Christian Fittipaldi.
It'll be the white flag next time around for Christian Fittipaldi, the nephew of Emerson Fittipaldi, the man who has been so successful in Champ Car racing himself and in Formula One as well. But for Christian, since he came into Champ Car racing in 1995, he made his debut with Walker Racing. He was runner-up in the Rookie of the Year competition that year, but he hasn't had one single race victory since that time. His last race win came when he was racing in the Formula 3000 Championship back in 1991. And he was the series winner with the Pacific team. He won a couple of races that year, 1991. So some 8 years ago since he last won an international motor race.
Wow, that's long overdue. He's driven very, very well indeed, particularly this year has Christian Fittipaldi. A couple of injury problems, of course, the last couple of years, but come back very strongly indeed in 1999. Let me just tell you also that Paul Tracy is back into the fray. He is running now in, I think, 11th place. A couple of laps down, and is looking to try and get a couple of points at least out of this day.
In fact, a few guys are in with a chance of having their best result of the year as Christian Fittipaldi comes up to take the white flag and go on to his final lap. There'll be a number of drivers celebrating here this afternoon.
Save your car.
Just listening to the radio communication there, and being told to save the car, quite right too. Michel Jourdain Jr. is heading for his best result of the year. He will come through in 7th place if everything stays as it is now, and that's a major step forward on what he's had so far this year.
Michael.
That would be it would be his best result in all. His best previously was a 10th place finish at Vancouver last season, so he certainly has driven very well. He's not on the ultimate pace this weekend, but at least everything has gone right for him, no major disasters. Just had a lot of bad luck. He, another one, is one of those chaps who had a lot of bad luck this season, but Michel keeping his head about him, driving a sensible race this afternoon.
Robbie Gordon will also match his season best with 8th place if he stays where he is. He's finished 8th in Motegi earlier on this year. He was 9th last time out in Cleveland. So the Toyota-powered car of Robbie Gordon running well. Alan Jr.'s in the points. He's in 9th. Richie Hearn is in the points. In 10th, that would be a reward for his mechanics who spent virtually all night rebuilding or building up a new car virtually. And he is in 10th, Tracy in 11th, and Guterman in 12th. But the story is about this man. Christian Fittipaldi is into his final half lap here now at Road America, and he's going to take his first ever win in the Champ Car Series. He joined the Newman Haas team in 1996, and it's taken his 4th season with the team for the big one to come his way. His first ever victory at a track where Dario Franchitti scored his first win, where Jacques Villeneuve scored his first ever win. Christian Fittipaldi is going to take his first win, following the footsteps of his uncle Emerson, who won here 3 times. Christian Fittipaldi through to take the checkered flag. A brilliant drive from the Brazilian. And you hear the radio. He is over the moon. Michael Andretti comes up to celebrate with him. A 1-2 for Newman Haas, and it must be a few years since we've had a 1-2 finish for this most successful team in Champ Car racing. 3rd place for Fernandez, 4th for Greg Moore, 5th for Papis, 6th for Tony Kanaan, then Jourdain, Gordon, Unser, Hearn and Tracy and Guterman. So Christian Fittipaldi absolutely over the moon with that one. Adrian Fernandez coming up to celebrate with him as well. And I'm just delighted that we were here to enjoy this, Jeremy. What a historic moment to see Christian winning here today. Michael Andretti taking that 2nd place, couldn't do anything about it. Adrian Fernandez in 3rd, then Greg Moore. Max Papis, good result. Tony Kanaan. And listen to that.
That's great. Unadulterated joy there from Christian Fittipaldi. He has worked very, very hard for this victory. There was some, perhaps a couple of years ago, that questioned his ultimate motivation, but you know...
Coming, friend. Long time coming.
Listen to that, long time coming there, they say on the radio, and absolutely right. But you know, when he had that horrible crash at Surfers Paradise a couple of years ago, very bad break in that leg, and he worked so hard to get back to full fitness, and here he is, reaping the rewards. A super drive this afternoon.
Excellent effort, and he spins the rear wheels in celebration. Christian Fittipaldi, the winner here in Road America. In the points, it's made a difference for 2nd place. Juan Montoya gets the point for laps most led, but Michael Andretti now jumps into 2nd place in the championship, some 18 points behind. Gilles de Ferran drops to 3rd. Franchitti is down to 4th place now, and Fittipaldi, who's finished every race in the points bar 1, he's up there too. He's 4th in the series.
Yeah, he's been a factor in every race this season, but he really has driven superbly all season long. Often he's been out qualifying his more illustrious teammate Michael Andretti, and again today he has beaten Michael fair and square. He was able to run a little bit longer on that fuel on each of the pit stops, and that was crucial.
So Christian Fittipaldi takes his first ever Champ Car victory in the sunshine and on one of the most demanding circuits in the United States. Road America has gone to Christian Fittipaldi here today.
Kart in Sunday Thunder.